Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the year ahead forecast for each life path number for 2026. So 2026 is a universal cycle of 10-1. Now, I'm going to be putting out a video that'll be coming out soon that will go over the numerology for 2026. So I'll spend a lot of time talking about collectively and, overarching energy of like what we can expect for 2026 to bring in. This video, however, is going to look at each life path number and how the energies of 2026 could affect you. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind is in numerology, the personal year, your essence energy that's in your personal chart, as well as your diamond energy, are the most potent core energies that you will work with in a given year. However, this energy that we're talking about today will also be present throughout the year. It sort of mixes and mingles with the more demanding energy of your charts. So yeah, it's all relevant. I would say book a reading for your year ahead forecast if you haven't done so already, because that's going to give you the most comprehensive understanding of what this year will likely bring in for you, what energies you'll be working with, and will help you to understand how best to work with them. Year ahead forecasts can be done anytime throughout the year, and they're such a great resource. But this is such a great time to do it because you're getting a head start and getting the information before we start the year. So it's a great time to do it. If interested, you can find my information in the description box below and book some time with me. I'd love to work with you. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast for 2026 for each life path number. Oh, life path number 1. This is a very, very potent, very powerful year for you all. You're going to be working with a vibration of master number 11-2. So kind of right out of the gate, I will say this will likely be a year where, first of all, relationships will likely be very much a theme. And it's not just romantic relationships, it's relationships like the art of relating. So it could be interesting for you all because it will likely require you to continue to, be that leader that you're meant to be in this lifetime. But this year could help you to, or teach you, offer the lessons that will help you to understand more deeply in how to lead alongside of others. So it's not necessarily that you are the leader of the pack. You are working alongside of others. You are collaborating, connecting, hearing other ideas, incorporating those ideas, having those conversations, whatever it takes to partner with other people to accomplish your bigger goals, to accomplish your what it is that you desire to achieve. So there could be a really strong emphasis on that this year, throughout the year. And there's going to be times where you're going to have to release the need for control. There's going to have to be there's going to be those times where, again, you might have to put your ideas, I don't want to say on the back burner, but find ways to incorporate others' ideas to help you work smarter, not harder, all while not giving up on your own vision or letting your vision or sacrificing your vision. So it'll be an interesting year of kind of finding your balance, finding your sort of your sweet spot, again, where you are still the leader within your own life. You are taking your vision to a whole other level, but you're working with others in order to achieve that. And being open to and not stubborn when it comes to how you, again, incorporate those varying ideas and how you work with others and how you connect with others and ultimately how you lead alongside of others. It's kind of like if I were to equate this to astrology, sort of high level, your one energy is basically Aries energy. And so working through a 2 cycle, and I'll get to the 11 later, but working through a 2 cycle, that's like Libra energy. So this is finding that sweet spot this year between your sort of Aries energy of the 1 and that 2 cycle that you're going to be working through or working with. And in doing so, it can open you up to so much more. It can help you to think bigger about whatever it is that you're creating or how you're investing your time or how you're contributing. And not only think bigger, but to be able to achieve something greater through that collaborative effort. This is not a year where you are meant to do it alone, where it's just meant to be you as an island. I mean, that's not the case anyway, but one energy, there can be those periods where it feels like you're an island, there's that strong hyper independence. But this is not one of those years. This is going to be one of those years that really is asking you to find your balance between self and working with others. And again, what it'll open you up to can be quite profound. Now, it might be very difficult because not only are you a 1, but you're working with double 1s, right? The 11. And so probably the push to be, or the urge to be impulsive, again, to be hyper independent, to be that strong, proud leader will be things you'll have to contend with. And you'll see how that affects your relationships if you kind of fall in that direction, which would be easy for 1s to do because that's such a strong part of your core energy. But this year is really beautiful in that it can, again, open you up to greater avenues when it comes to working with others. And it can show you just how much you can accomplish by, again, not letting go of the reins, but sharing the reins. And again, working in a collaborative effort to achieve your goals. And asking for the support that you need along the way to help you to do that. Anytime we work with 2 energy, it's it's meant to bring in greater balance and unity and harmony, again, and connection. And so you will likely see lots of themes of that this year. And, healing, opportunities for healing relationships, for connecting more deeply, to seeing where the disconnect is within a situation or relationship and finding ways to bring a greater connection. Those are all really strong themes this year that will likely come your way. Now, it's interesting because when the 11-2 comes in a cycle, it can actually bring in sudden events that can require decisive action. And so certain experiences that you may move through this year can feel really exciting, stimulating, and can, again, make you feel very impulsive, which, again, 1s tend to be or have to kind of fight that impulsivity throughout your journey. So patience is going to be key and tolerance is going to be key. But really patience. You'll have to make some decisions. You'll have to be decisive this year. And hopefully you're doing so, again, in a collaborative effort. But be careful about that impulsivity. That's one thing I will say. That's one thing that will bite you in the butt this year, is if you're overly impulsive, too quick to take a risk. Now, you're meant to take risks this year for sure. But just make sure they're calculated risks. Take your time. Don't be overly impulsive because you're going to have to kind of probably backtrack a little bit and clean that up a little bit. So it's best just to take your time on the front end so you don't have a lot of cleanup on the back end. Now, you will likely find that your psychic, your intuitive abilities are just lit up this year. And that's helping you to not only kind of develop those I'll say skills, but to really truly tap into that side of yourself, to bring it out and to let it be sort of a guiding force for you. And so you'll have some opportunities this year to flex that muscle. And again, to further develop those skills or techniques or gifts or whatever. And it can help you also because as you move through the 11-2 cycle, you're meant to take greater inspirations, greater ideas, greater downloads, and turn them into something tangible, something useful, something real. And so you're going to be kind of using a lot of your gifts, your resources, your, again, inspirations, ideas, in order to do that, in order to make that happen. So if there's things that you've been working on that are still sort of in the concept phase or maybe sort of in the initial, beginnings, you could really see a lot of things come to life, especially towards the end of the year. Because remember, universal cycles, these kind of energies, personal years, they're progressive. So we usually see the results towards the end of the year. But potentially a lot of opportunity to bring your greater inspirations and ideas truly to life this year. And again, I think you'll do that by working with others. And one of the gifts of connecting with others, working with others, sharing ideas with others, is that it can really bring out your own creative potential. And not only that, but it can help you to figure out how you're going to reach that potential. So it can be really, really incredibly beautiful. This is a time where I would say definitely pay attention to your dreams, to your visions, to your revelations, to your, again, downloads, your inspirations, because that is going to help to sort of shape what your creative work looks like this year. And it doesn't have to be about like what you're doing for work or for money. It's about that creative expression and turning your vision, your inspirations into something tangible, bringing them to life. Now, I would say also, this is a time where, because it's that master level energy, you could be recognized at this time on a pretty big stage. That's very possible. Anytime we move through an 11-2 cycle, it can bring in notoriety, being some kind of an influencer, like having some kind of greater influence, having a greater stage. So people might be really drawn to you this year. Anytime I see someone move through an 11-2 cycle, it's kind of like that energy of like all eyes on you, all eyes on them type of thing. And so, yeah, you might get some kind of public acclaim or some kind of significant recognition for your personal, creativity, contributions, effort, etc. The spotlight is on you in some way this year. So, yeah, what are you going to do with it? You've got the stage, you've got the microphone, and the spotlight's on you. And so the question is going to be, what are you going to do with it? It can be a very challenging and testing cycle. But if you can channel your emotions, your energies, again, into something worthwhile, something tangible, then you have the potential this year to accomplish more now than in any other cycle that you'll likely move through. Very, very, very powerful energy. Master numbers offer master level potential challenges, but also master level accomplishments. Big year in front of you, ones. I pulled an animal wisdom message for you, and you got hound energy or dog energy. And so it brings it back to loyalty. So I would say be mindful of where you place your loyalty this year. Of course, start with you, right? Make sure that you're loyal to your own needs. You're not sacrificing yourself. Compromise is beautiful. Sacrifice sucks. So, just make sure that you're staying loyal and true to you and to your vision and to your goals and what you want and need and all those things. And pay attention to the loyalties that you put into relationships or commitments. And just make sure that you're not overburdening yourself, or again, you're not sacrificing yourself. If your loyalty lies with a company or a relationship or something like that, make sure there's that equal exchange of energy. Make sure that you're not being taken advantage of, or again, you're taking up enough space within that connection to gain that equal exchange of energy. So you do have an opportunity to take a closer look at that. And you might even see maybe you've been not loyal enough to your connections. Again, remember, you're in a 2 cycle. So maybe there needs to be, allowing the other person to take up more space within your experience. So there's a lot to kind of look at here. Life's going to give you everything you need to make it happen. But just be aware that these are the themes you could be working with this year. And you have the power to just create some significant, to create a significant presence in the world, whether it's through your work or through just you being your presence. Big energy this year for you all ones. I know you're going to do great things with it. I hope it's a wonderful year. Take care. Bye for now. Life path number 2, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 12-3 for 2026. This can bring in an interesting dynamic because like universally, the collective energy that we're going to be working with is one energy. So there's a lot of like ambition and assertiveness and, taking risks and kind of a fast moving energy. But for you all, you're going to be working with that, right? You're going to feel that energy. But for you all, there's this kind of this need to pause this year, to take your time, to sort of stop, look, and listen, and to not rush into things. This will be a year where you will see progress and you will be able to take initiative and feel that ambition and the motivation and all those things. But you need to do it in a very calculated, like methodical type of way. It's not meant to be rushed. So you should take as many opportunities this year to, again, pause, think about things, think about how you want to proceed, think about what you want, think about the decisions that you'll have to make that can help you to achieve that. And by slowing down and, again, pausing where needed before taking a big risk or before committing to something or before proceeding in some significant way, this year is asking you to go deeper, like go beyond the surface level, to really start to see things as they are and not as they appear to be. So a lot of times if we're rushing through something, we're taking things at face value and we're rushing the process. We're not really diving deeper to make sure that what's below the surface also suits us, that also, ties into whatever it is that we're trying to achieve. So you're going to have plenty of opportunities this year to kind of work with the polarities, right? Where it is that you feel really called to do something, but there's certain things that are standing in your way. Maybe it's belief systems, maybe it's some kind of physical barrier, who knows? But kind of those polarities of like stop and go, those polarities of anything that's conflicting in your mind, in your experience, where you really kind of need to understand both sides of those polarities. And it's through understanding that both sides that you can kind of meet in a happy middle, right? Some kind of common space, which is sort of right up your alley as a 2. But wherever there are those conflicting polarities, right? Where something feels good, but it also doesn't, also at the same time doesn't feel good. Or, how do you rectify that? What decisions do you need to make? And a lot of times it's about finding the spot in the middle that can sort of bring in the equilibrium. And again, this is kind of vague, but you'll understand what I'm talking about when you're moving through it this year, because it can show up in any area of your life that it needs to. But it's about bringing things really this year into greater perspective. So is that really a mountain, or is it just a molehill that you've made into a mountain? And can you, once you understand that it's probably just the molehill, it's much easier to overcome. So there's a lot that, again, by kind of working with the polarities, working with the push-pull that you'll likely feel this year, it'll bring in that greater perspective. And when you have that greater perspective, it'll allow you to find that inner harmony that then will be reflected in your decisions and then in your outer reality. And again, it can be with relationships or a job or whatever, however it comes in this year. But there will likely be a lot of that. And that can be challenging for 2s because 2s often struggle with being very decisive and then sticking to that decision and not second guessing themselves or beating themselves up or all those things. And this year is really going to challenge that. It's going to encourage you or almost demand that you are decisive. But in that decisiveness, you're meant to kind of weigh your options, look at both sides, again, be that observer that you are meant to be in this lifetime, and find your central point that will, again, bring it all into greater perspective. Pay attention to negative thoughts. If you're too cynical, if your thoughts are too negative, it's going to create it's going to create this chaos in your life this year. It's going to bring in disharmony. And so there's also this strong element this year that's helping you realize just how powerful your thoughts are. So, a lot of times our thoughts are the ones that create the problems. And so again, maybe what you're actually looking at is just a bump in the road, but you've turned it into, through your thoughts and the rumination and going down the rabbit hole, you've turned it into a greater mountain. And that's halted your progress forward. And this year is helping you to see where you do that, see where your thoughts really kind of drive your actions or your inactions. And that can really help to alleviate that in some way. So pay attention to your thoughts this year. I'm not saying to, step into toxic positivity or, not look at the situation for the reality of how it is. Maybe it's a very difficult situation, but don't let that difficult situation turn into pessimism or cynicism, because that's going to, again, stand in your way. You want to remember that your thoughts create your experience. Well, the thoughts you say yes to, that you believe, that you take action from, create your experience. And so if there's problems, have they been created by your thoughts? And so this year is going to help you to kind of really see where you tend to do that, and where maybe you're creating a self-imposed prison that isn't real and doesn't need to be there. So it offers this change of perspective. It offers this change of view. That's really the ultimate goal this year of this 12-3 energy, is to bring in a whole new perspective. And once you have that, or many of those, it's going to shift your entire reality, or it's going to shift the reality of whatever it touches. Because once we see better, or again, we see things through a different lens or through a wider lens, then we're able to make much more informed decisions that can create the experiences that we actually want to have. So, yeah. This is also a year, though, where, you're not going to have to put in a tremendous amount of effort. It's almost like things kind of take care of themselves so that you can focus on what needs to be focused on at this time. So again, I say, let this cycle work for you. Use this opportunity to be that observer, that, reflective person who can, again, kind of stand back and see the bigger picture and then make decisions from that space. And that's such a big piece of the 2 energy. So yeah, you'll have plenty of opportunities to do that this year. And I would also say, there's an opportunity to gain greater serenity through this year. If you're not rushing, if you're not forcing, if you're not pushing, if you're not sort of feeding into your limiting beliefs, if you're slowing down and you're self-soothing and you're relaxed as you make those decisions, as you step into the next step, right? Then what you can find is greater serenity with this energy, and a greater sense of calm and confidence and groundedness that can help you to, again, find that greater confidence within yourself that will then help you to make those more solid decisions that you feel comfortable with, that you feel confident in, and that are well informed. This is one of those cycles that says you will achieve the success that you're looking for, but only through acceptance of what you cannot change while embracing what you can. So there's going to be so much about finding that greater balance, again, between those polarities and finding what feels right for you this year. And then making the decisions and taking the actions to help you to get there through that greater perspective. And keep in mind, this is a progressive energy. Anytime we work with like personal years or year-long cycles, they're progressive. So pay attention to the lessons you learned this year, and you'll understand what they were all for come 2027. I pulled an animal wisdom message for you all, and you got Ram energy. And it's interesting because, Ram energy, again, it's very much the energy of this 2026, the universal cycle, that one energy. It's about ambition and perseverance and determination. But for you all, there's this element of that needed. And really it falls to that determination. coming back to like what it is that you want, and then making the decisions that will help you to get there through a slow, calculated, process. It's not rushed. And so keep the vision, have the vision, hold the vision, keep working towards the vision, but don't rush the process. And as I said before, pay attention to what it is that you can't control or you can't change, and embrace what you can. Put your energy there. Don't get stuck or focused on what isn't working. Focus on what is working and put your energy there. And you'll see that momentum, but in a slow way. It's not meant to be rushed. So, when we think about like ram energy, same as like goat energy, there's a perseverance. There's a step-by-step climbing that mountain. It's not an overnight success. So whatever you're kind of working on this year, it might feel like it's slow going, like you're not seeing a lot of that return of investment or the instant gratification, but you will see that. But there's kind of a lot to learn along the way, and that, that whatever it is that you learn along the way is needed for you to reach the destination. Not just reach the destination, but to be able to have something sustainable once you get there. So very, very powerful year ahead for you all twos. I hope it's a great one. Take care. Bye for now. Life path number 3, you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 13-4 for 2026. This is a powerful year because you all have the potential to be or become the lotus flower this year. And what I mean by that is this is a cycle that you will either likely see things come to fruition and blossom and bloom that you have really been working towards, having your greater vision come to life this year, starting to see things really take shape and really take form. Or this could be a year where you gain some kind of a vision, some kind of inspiration that has the potential to be quite transformative, not only for your own life, but for the lives that touches, whatever it is that vision is and whatever you create. But you have the potential to really initiate something very significant this year. And it will take time to come to fruition. It's not something that will happen overnight, being 4 energy. And also the 13-4 is karmic. And so it will take much more effort than what you might normally have to put in. But it'll be worth it. Anytime we work with 13-4 energy, it gives us an opportunity to build something beautiful from something not so beautiful, to have that greater vision that nobody else can see, and to be able to commit to it and nurture it and see it through to completion. And eventually, like the lotus flower, you grow beautiful blooms in the dirt, from the mud, right? But it takes time and it takes effort and it takes perseverance. So again, this year you could either start to see those blooms from past effort that you've been really putting in. And when I say past effort, I'm talking about likely years of effort. When we're talking about 13-4 energy, it's not this overnight success. This is overnight things coming to fruition. It's a journey. And so you could be at sort of the summit this year. You could find yourself at the summit. Again, if there's things you've been really dedicated towards and persevering with and committed to, you could really see those things take shape now in quite a profound way. Or again, this could be the point of initiation, because we're also like, again, in that global 1 cycle for 2026. So there's a lot about motivation and ambition and, going after our greater desires and taking risks and new starts and etc. So it just depends on how it shows up for you. But whatever it is, it has the potential to be very far reaching in its effects. And again, in the lives that it touches, whatever this vision is, whatever it is that you create, whatever it is that you're nurturing at this time. And it's interesting. We usually think of like creativity or like a creative project or creative expression or something like that. But I mean, it could quite literally be your children, right? How you raise your children, and maybe you're sending them off into the world this year. Maybe they're going to college, or maybe they're getting married and starting their own family, whatever. So there's that potential there also for some of you. But there's whatever it is, you've played a role in the sort of formation or like the creation of this experience. And that can be quite profound and very rewarding, very, very, very rewarding. This cycle has the potential to be incredibly rewarding. Now, the other things I will say about the 13-4 is, well, one thing I want to say before I move on is there's a lot here about patience and perseverance and not letting the small obstacles or even the large obstacles deter you from achieving your vision, your goal, whatever it may be. Follow your heart, right? It's a very heart-led energy. It's very intuitive. Follow your intuition. Make sure but there's this piece of make sure that what you're persevering towards, what it is that you're committed to, what you're loyal to, what you're nurturing to see grow is what you want to see grow, right? Like your heart's in it. You're not just doing it out of, loyalty or because you said you would. Make sure that your heart's in it, because that's the only way you're going to get the true satisfaction out of this cycle, is to make sure that it's heart-led. And there's a deeper connection there to this vision, to whatever this is that you're creating, to whatever it is that you're committing to. You need to feel connected to it in a deep way. Otherwise, again, you're building someone else's dream as opposed to your own. So very, very powerful energy here. But whatever it is, it will take patience and persistence and longevity. But remember, you're building something sustainable here. You're building something for the long term. You're building something foundational. And that's what this energy promises, that you will achieve that, but you're going to have to continue to persevere. But again, some of you might be on the receiving end at this time where you've done the work. Now things are starting to bloom. Your garden is growing, and that can be incredibly rewarding. The other themes that the 13-4 can bring up is, of course, there's this strong transformative energy here. When we talk about the 13-4, it's kind of like Pluto energy in astrology, or the death card in tarot, right? It's very much like death, transformation, rebirth, metaphorically speaking. Sometimes it can be literal. So like you may receive some kind of an inheritance this year, or, there might be those losses of someone or a pet or something, transcending, passing over. And there may be some things, obviously, you'll have to kind of move through in that can be very transformative. Sometimes grief can be a great transformer. And so it is always possible when we move through 13-4 cycles that's part of that journey. So it can be very, very transformative. Not only in your work, but in your personal life as well. This is an opportunity to go very deep into your belief system, into how you express yourself, how you show up to connections. I mean, just any area of your life has the potential this year to be very transformed. Again, death, transformation, rebirth. So there's a very strong possibility that there will be a quote unquote metaphorical death of some sort. Something needs to fall away. Something needs to be released, kind of dismantled or broken, in order for that transformation to occur, in order for that rebirth or that phoenix moment to occur. And though it can be challenging as you move through it, it's always worth it. It's always worth it, because you come out as the phoenix. Any transformative, experience is absolutely worth it in the long run. It might kind of be difficult as we move through it, but in the long run, it serves such a great purpose. And we're usually grateful for that transformation once we're on the other side of it. But this is a cycle where I would say you can likely expect changes that will bring some kind of an end, but it's only going to touch those things that need to come to an end, right? So conditions that no longer serve some kind of useful purpose in your evolutionary journey, those are the things you could see fall away at this time. Things that have, again, reached their expiration date or served their purpose, or are kind of standing in your way. Again, whether it's a belief system or a career that's dead end or whatever, you could see that end at this time or be kind of removed at this time for that death, transformation, rebirth to occur. So any thought patterns that are overly rigid or that, again, have sort of been kind of crystallized and kept you stuck, those will likely be shattered this year. And again, it's only through that death that you can be freed to move forward. Where you, again, it's not weighing you down, whatever it may be. It's not impeding your progress forward. So yeah, I would say don't be too stubborn. Don't be too rigid this year especially when it comes to belief systems or ideas or even values. Everything's kind of being looked at this year that, what's working, what serves, what doesn't. And what doesn't will likely go through this metamorphosis in order to allow in what does. There's a lot this year that can be reworked or reframed that will basically assist you in the long run. And the beauty of this cycle, there's so much that's beautiful about this cycle, really long term, but this can really be a cycle that brings in so many fresh ideas, new people, new experiences, things that really truly inspire you. You could see a lot of transformation in your own life when it comes to maybe see some change of plans. Maybe you move, maybe you change careers. There can be significant changes that are very needed in your experience, but they can just sort of alter some area of your life in a quite a profound way. You can kind of think of this as an opportunity for, again, kind of the removal of what's no longer working so that we can allow for those new opportunities to present. And then to recognize where we hesitate to say yes to those new opportunities. Because sometimes we want things, but when they show up, then we have imposter syndrome, or we don't feel worthy, or we don't feel confident. So you could be faced with that and confronted with that this year about, all right, here's that big break you were looking for. What are you going to do with it? And, there's a lot sometimes we can be confronted with that we have to face in order to muster up the confidence to say yes to those opportunities, to say yes to what it is that we've said we've wanted. And so, in a lot of ways, this cycle can be a reconstruction period, and it can bring about a tremendous amount of happiness. And I say, if we make the right decisions, but there's no right or wrong decisions. But again, if you're presented with the opportunity that you've been wanting for so long, or you're starting to see those things take shape, you're going to have to overcome that self-doubt, the fear of the unknown, all of those things that the mind wants to just dive into to keep us quote unquote safe, even though it's not a real safety net. And so you could definitely see opportunities this year for those opportunities. Again, to bring your greater visions to life, your greater ideas, your inspirations. But it's one thing to have it in the mind, and then it's one thing to see it start to take shape, and then realize that, oh, I wanted this, I'm responsible for this, now what am I going to do with this? And you could see that occur this year. Now remember, this is, we're talking about a year-long cycle, so this is very progressive. You're not going to see all this January 1st. It's going to continue to progress and unfold as you continue throughout 2026, and you may not even really see sort of the transformation that has occurred this year. It might take some time as you move into 2027 and beyond, but you'll have a really good indication of everything that was significant that you move through this year or 2026 that is going to lead to that those visions coming to life, that lotus flower blooming, so to speak. So I would say expect change. Change is the basis of manifestation. It is the basis of basically everything. And, when we allow for change, or that death, transformation, rebirth, which basically is change, we're allowing for that release. We're allowing for that release from the past, or what no longer serves, followed by that renewal, which is promised, which brings that the changes that are necessary for that greater growth, for reaching those goals, so that we can create new goals and new visions, right? The universe is constantly expanding, and so are we, or we're meant to be. So anything that's hindering that expansion will likely go through some kind of significant metamorphosis this year. Yeah, I would say this is a year to travel if you have an opportunity to travel, to say yes to any opportunity that brings in greater growth, to face your fears, to do the thing, right? If you're lacking the confidence, do the thing to show yourself that you are confident. You are capable of whatever it is, right? This could be a year of proving to yourself that you are capable of anything you put your mind to, and overcoming those fears or those doubts, and letting go of anything that is no longer for you. Very, very powerful cycle for sure. And I think probably the greatest metamorphosis that will likely occur is what happens internally, right? This cycle can help you really find that solid foundation from within, no matter what's kind of happening external to you. And that can be rewarding within itself. So really beautiful energy here, but I do think it's going to likely be rewarding in the material sense as well. So I pulled an animal wisdom message for you all, and you got antelope energy. And antelopes are the fastest land animal in the Northern Hemisphere. And so there's a lot of momentum here. There's a lot of, again, that one energy that we're all working with for 2026. Ambition, motivation, feeling that, that fire beneath us, taking charge, going full force ahead. That is that ambition. And so you're going to feel that this year. And the things are going to be opening up for you quite quickly, especially as you're moving through this 13-4 energy. And I would say with antelope energy coming through, yes, this is definitely a year to take risks for sure, because you're also working with one energy, right? 13, so 1. And then, of course, we got that in the universal cycle. So you're working with that. You're going to feel that fire energy. You're going to feel that motivation. But just make sure that you're taking time for rest, relaxation, rejuvenation, to recharge. Because it can feel like a fast-moving energy. It can feel like a lot of moving parts. It can feel like there's a lot of, again, transformation, a lot happening this year for you all. And you just don't want to burn out, and you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. Yes, you're meant to take risks. Yes, you're meant to say yes to the opportunities. Yes, yes, yes. But just take your time. Make sure that you are considerate of your need for rest and rejuvenation, and that nourishment. Give yourself the nourishment that you need in order to sustain the pace, right? You set the pace. So make sure that you're not setting a pace for yourself that is not sustainable. Let's put it that way. So yeah, beautiful energy here. Very powerful. Very, very powerful year for you all. Hope it's a great one. Take care, threes. Bye for now. Life path number 4. So we're going to be working with the vibration of the 14-5 for 2026. This is an interesting combination, especially for life path 4s, because our own energy is in the equation. Usually when we move through a cycle, like a universal cycle that holds our own energy, it can be a very productive year. It can be a very fruitful year. We can see a lot of things come to fruition. We can see a lot of things take shape. And because it's coupled with that 5 energy is about progression. It's about unconventional, doing things unconventionally thinking, unconventional ways of thinking, doing things, again, differently. And so we could have a lot of opportunities this year to think outside the box, do things differently, do things well outside of our comfort zone. This is a year where we probably won't see a lot of, I don't want to say not structure, but we might have to definitely let go of the need for control and sort of surrender a bit more. Anytime we move through a 5 cycle, of course, there's opportunities for significant change and transformation throughout the year. But there's also this opportunity for greater exploration, for seeing sides of ourselves that we didn't see before, or finding new ways or different ways of doing things that we wouldn't have thought of before. This is going to push us beyond, again, our comfort zone, to think outside the box. A lot of times 4s get stuck in the conventional, right? Kind of in the box. And when we move through a 5 cycle, if you don't have a lot of 5s in your personal chart, this can feel very disorienting, very chaotic sort of energy. And you might just want to kind of like recoil back into, your sticky notes and your systems and that sort of thing. And I'm not saying to throw those away because you're going to need them this year. But I am saying that this is going to be a year to take the risk, go with the flow, to collaborate, to find better ways of doing things, to be more progressive in your approach, to sort of break away from the ways that you've always done things. There can definitely be this confrontation, again, where you're kind of confronted with where it is that you sort of stick to what's tried and true, but then you get the same results. So when you move through a 5 cycle, and this can be anywhere in life, when you move through a 5 cycle, it disrupts that and shows you the better way so that you can work smarter, not harder in all areas of life. But sometimes that can be really hard for a 4 to release that known, right? There's a lot of unknowns with 5 energy. 5 energy is about experiencing life with all your senses, going big, freedom, right? Like breaking free from restrictive energy and kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And that's like the complete polar opposite of what a 4 wants to do, usually. So there can be some tests and challenges along that path this year, but it's really trying to open you up. It's trying to bust you open so that you can see there are better ways of doing things and you can get much bigger, better results from that. Yes, you might have the solution, and that solution is probably spot on because 4s are very solution focused. But the way that you achieve that solution or get to that solution or create that solution, there's many different options for that. And the 5 energy is trying to show you that this year. So yeah, I would say this is a year for travel. This is a year for trying something new, for getting outside of your comfort zone, for trying the thing you've always wanted to try but had fear around or didn't have the confidence to do. This is the year to do it. Put yourself out there. Who cares what people think? This is that time where it's like, it's pushing you towards that authenticity, that expression that feels most true for you. And that might break some rules. I'm not telling you to break the law or anything like that or whatever, but I'm just saying you might break some traditions this year. You might steer in a different direction that looks very different than what you're used to. And it could open you wide up to so many opportunities, so much potential. Now, the 14-5 is also a karmic energy. So this brings in that need for more effort, for additional effort, right? Things might take a bit longer. Now, as a 4, you're used to that. So that's not going to feel so uncomfortable for you. But just know that whatever it is that you say yes to or throw yourself into or explore or, if you put yourself outside your comfort zone, if you don't see the results right away or it shows up different than what you expected, don't give up too quickly because the results are sort of in the prolonged effort. And you will see the results. They will come your way. And as always, even with 4 energy, right? And the 4 is in the equation. So the results are always in direct proportion to the effort you put in. So pay attention to the effort you're putting in. But this can be a really freeing year. This has the potential to just shift your perspective in a lot of ways, free you up, open you up, and show you where it is that maybe you've got yourself stuck in like a self-imposed prison, whether it's lack of confidence or self-doubt or whatever it might be. And this energy is here to shake things up and to help you to see that it's not that serious. It doesn't need to be that serious, whatever it is. And even if it is serious, you can still find your joy and humor through the process, and that'll make it much more comfortable and easy to manage and easier to move through. This is definitely a cycle where you could find ways to, or be presented with ways to modify your current lifestyle. And that can, just open you up to so many different opportunities that can feel uncomfortable at first. But I would say test the water, go for the ride, see where it takes you. And the other thing about this cycle is it can really open us up creatively. So, the 4 is very intuitive. And so you're meant to tap into that and sort of channel those creative ideas through you to build or create whatever it is that you're looking to build or create. But when the 5 energy comes through, it can really push us to really tap into that creative life force that flows through us. And to find unique ways of channeling that, right? Find those creative outlets that best serve. So it can be very powerful in that sense. So I would say definitely pay attention to your dreams, to your visions, to your downloads, to your inspirations at this time, and pay attention to those creative outlets that can give you an opportunity to channel that energy into something tangible, something real, bring it to life. Pay attention to any kind of competitive situation that might come up at this time. Just remember that, especially when it comes to like money, business, ventures, that sort of thing, there can be a lot of competition there. And I would say just remember that you get to choose how you engage, how you participate. And I would say choose wisely. If it's not a competition you want to be in, then don't get in it. They can be competitive all they want, but it's not worth your energy. So just pay attention to that. You could see that kind of flare up throughout the year. And, you're a 4, so I know you'll handle it well, but it can just be one of those things that can be kind of distracting or kind of detract from where your focus needs to be this year. So don't engage with it. It's not worth your energy. Also, you could see some social or family obligations come in this year that can be like different or kind of off the cuff, kind of peculiar circumstances that might need your attention. The 5 energy has this way of sort of bringing in not just unconventional things, but just different or like weird things. And so, yeah, you might just notice some things crop up that just seem strange and just need your attention. So, and you might have to kind of think again outside the box to come up with a solution for whatever it might be. And that's very, very possible. This is also a time where you could really find your voice. You could find your greater stride. And so you could feel like, people are coming to you more for your wisdom or for your expertise or whatever. You can see that people are sort of easily influenced by what you have to say, what your messaging is, what you have to present. And so, pay attention to your messaging, pay attention to what you're putting out into the world. And yeah, like I said, you can take advantage of the opportunities that come in for you. Definitely be some opportunities to expand and grow when it comes to how you share your gifts, how you present your expertise, whatever that might be, or whatever it is that you're building. So be careful of letting self-doubt get in the way of that. So beautiful energy here. And I pulled an animal wisdom message and we got snail energy. It's so funny to me because snail energy is kind of the energy I would equate to the 4 because it's such a slow, methodical, step-by-step kind of energy. And then the 5 is the complete opposite. And so, but we do have the 4 energy in the equation. So, there's definitely something here for continuing to take your time, to pace yourself, to make sure that, you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's and all of that. But there's also this energy with snail to trust in the invisible, to trust in the inner knowing that resides within you when it comes to some of these experiences that might be outside of your comfort zone, outside of your comfort zone. Trust the process. Trust that, the universe, your soul does not set you up for failure, that wherever this boat is taking you is where you're meant to be. And that's really how it can feel with 5 energy. Like you get in the boat and the water takes you exactly where you need to be, and then it kind of drops you off, and then you figure out the landscape. That's pretty much 5 energy. So you're in the boat this year and, you need to trust. You need to trust in the unseen, trust in the unknown, trust that things will work out just as they always have. But you're being opened up to, or we're being opened up to, so much more than what we think is possible. And it's only by, again, stepping outside of that comfort zone, stepping beyond the gate, that we're ever going to be able to run free and to really open ourselves up to express ourselves in the way that feels most true, most authentic, most freeing. So yeah, trust in the unseen. It's very, if you're rushing by something, let's say you're going for a walk in the forest and you're rushing through on the path, you'll miss the snail. You're not going to see the snail. But if you're taking your time and you're really, just paying attention to the scenery as you float down the river, you'll see the snail and you'll recognize the importance of the snail and its place in the world. So beautiful energy here. I do think that there's going to be some tug of war energy within, because fours, we like things, we like our systems, we like things, we like to know how things are going, all of that. We like that control. The 5, again, it wants to fly by the seat of its pants. It wants freedom, and it wants no restrictions, no rules. We'll make it up as we go. So you're going to feel that energy and that pull, and you're going to have to find the center point, because that's where the magic lies, and that's where you're going to get the most out of this year, is when you can kind of come in the center there. So yeah, beautiful energy here. I hope it's a great one. Take care, fours. Bye for now. Life path number 5, you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 15-6. So this is going to be bringing relationships to the forefront throughout the year. So there's definitely a strong theme here, especially of those relationships that are close to your heart. So close friends, family, partners, work connections that have a strong impact in your life could sort of be a reoccurring theme this year. And so pay attention to what comes to the surface for you throughout the year to be dealt with. Meaning, when we move through a 6 cycle, it will usually bring to the surface the things that we've been kind of, sweeping under the rug because we haven't wanted to deal with them. So it can bring up those harder conversations. It can bring up, sharing that space where we are sharing our needs, being very honest about, again, what we need, what we want, the direction we want to be moving in, but also creating the space for the other person to do that as well. And of course, what that does is it opens up a deeper understanding of each other, so that you can, as you move forward, you can be taking steps that will be in the best interest and for the highest good of all involved. So you could find this year that there are plenty of opportunities to have some of those more uncomfortable conversations, but those uncomfortable conversations will lead to much more freeing experiences where everyone is getting what they need, or at least there's the effort put forth to make sure that everyone is getting what they need out of that connection. So, we can definitely bring in beautiful aspects as you're moving through the year, but there will likely be opportunities for anything that is not at that vibration of love, truth, and honesty come to the surface to be dealt with. So you may have to be the one that initiates those conversations as well, because you're the one moving through that 6 cycle. And so, it's likely going to be things that need to be addressed. Maybe you haven't had the confidence or the courage to address them in the past, and now that you're moving through this 6 cycle, it can help you to do that. I think there is going to be a strong emphasis here because you're working with that vibration, also the 15. And so where the 6 vibration is that of unconditional love, truth, and honesty, the 15 can show us where there are a lot of conditions or expectations on a relationship, and where those have to be moved through and dealt with and released, right? Nobody thrives in relationships where there are high expectations, where we see the potential of someone, but we can't meet them where they're at. And so this is going to be a year of probably you doing some self-reflection and seeing, again, what is it that you need? What is it that you want in your connections, in your relationships? What needs to be addressed? What needs to be, where does there need to be a conversation? And then having those deeper conversations to, again, address those concerns, those expectations, whatever it might be. So that's the centralized theme this year for you all, is to see where maybe there's not an equal exchange of energy within your connections. Maybe there's, again, something needs to be addressed, discussed, whatever, in order to make the situation better. And when it comes to expectations or conditions, again, you're going to have to be looking at that from your own self, right? Where is it that you have expectations or conditions that you place on yourself and others? And where do you need to address that first? And then what connections are those expectations and conditions being placed on you that you can't possibly meet, and is creating some kind of shame or guilt or frustration in trying to meet those expectations. Those are where the conversations will likely need to be had. And we live in, this 3D reality where everything sort of moves in this 3D version of love, which is riddled with conditions and riddled with expectations. And, it's fine to have standards, but when we have these expectations, again, that just are not realistic, that's what sets us up for failure. That's what tends to unravel those relationships. And so, it's this constant, I don't want to say struggle, but this constant movement to see and understand where not only do we put expectations and conditions on others in order for them to be worthy of love or receive love, but where are we showing up to relationships where the other person is putting those conditions on us as well. And so this might be, a sensitive year for you all as you move through these pieces, but it can be a very freeing year and a very, again, liberating year when it comes to those deeper relationships and how you see love and how you give love and receive love. So there's a strong love theme. Now, in addition to that, this can definitely be a year where you meet someone very, very significant. At the core of this is that love vibration. Now, depending on where you're at in your own personal journey, it might be a connection that you make that helps you to see and understand love more deeply and sort of what love truly means and all of those things. So it could definitely be some kind of a soul contract, soul connection that comes in for you this year, but around the themes of love, loving yourself, loving others, again, how you show up to love, all those things. But love is in the air, so you might definitely meet someone significant this year. It can also be a year for maybe losing a pet, but adopting a pet is also in this energy as well. Pets definitely come into the focus, so there could be an emphasis with your pets. For new friendships, being in your community more or feeling like you have a greater sense of community this year could definitely come into play. Putting yourself out there more in the community is going to be important this year for you. And I think you'll get a lot out of that. The other piece of this is there's a strong emphasis on home and sort of like your, where you feel safe and most secure within your home, your sanctuary, how you beautify that space. So this could be a year for remodeling or sort of, again, just changing your furniture out or painting your walls or changing locations completely. Moving could be something that comes in for you this year. As well. And again, in that moving, you might find yourself in a new community where, again, you can sort of find your people in that community if you so choose. Also, children come into play or people moving in or out of your home. So you could be having a baby or adopting, or maybe your children are going to school and they're leaving your home, or they're getting married and starting their own lives or whatever. But children, family, home life is sort of all the central themes this year for you all. So you could see some big moves or big changes in those environments, but they can be so incredibly beautiful as well. So try to put an emphasis or a focus on, again, like how you can beautify your own space, your own environment, whether that's your workspace, your home, living situation, whatever it might be. This could be the year that you end a toxic relationship because it's not bringing anything healthy or good to your experience or your home life. That's possible. You could meet someone who brings beauty into your home space. Any of this is possible, but there's a lot of emphasis here. At the core of this, though, again, will likely be things coming to the surface that need to be dealt with so that you can, again, feel more free, more liberated in your home space, in that vibration of love, and kind of weed out where there's those strong conditions or expectations that just aren't really doing it for you. There could be a lot of surrender that comes in or that's necessary this year. Also, overcoming any pettiness, any stubbornness that might be keeping you from having those deeper conversations and getting to the truth of the situation, whatever that might be. The other piece of this is to, and this is going to sound so condescending, but I don't mean it that way, but to laugh more. Don't take life quite so serious. There is, life happens through the joy. It can happen through the challenging experiences, of course, too. That's where we gain our wisdom, or most wisdom. But joy can walk hand in hand with despair. And that's usually what gets us out of the despair. So I'm not saying that there's going to be a lot of despair this year for you all, but I'm just saying there can be some challenging periods depending on how this comes in for you. But anytime we're talking about matters of the heart, sometimes it can be sensitive or a little challenging at times. So this is really a strong emphasis on breaking free from what binds you when it comes to love and relationships and your home life and your sanctuary, wherever that sanctuary might be. And as you move through the challenges of that, don't forget to sort of enjoy the process, like find your joy in the process, because it's there. Sometimes we have to create it for ourselves. Look beneath the surface and see the situation as it really is. Discernment is going to be so key for you all this year. So make sure that you are discerning when it comes to deciding what relationships are working, which ones aren't, deciding where to move, or where, whether to stay or whether to move, whatever, right? Whatever comes in for you, make sure that it's the decision is coming back to you. Okay, so definitely a lot of change potentially in the year for you all, because you do have that 5 energy. So long-held views could change. Newfound beliefs can set your mind at ease and get rid of those old fears that might be keeping you stuck. So change is a good thing, and it's needed. And so you're going to likely see that come in, especially around your relationships. It's very, very possible. Be careful not to sort of chain yourself to things or people who will put you in this place of servitude. You should be cautious about signing any contracts or agreements that, again, kind of are overburdening, feel like you're sacrificing yourself, don't feel like they have your best interest at heart. Again, discernment is going to be really, really important for you at this time. Okay, I pulled an animal wisdom message for you, and you got lizard energy. And this is so interesting to me because, the lizard is often associated with like magic, like magical things happening. And 6 energy is often associated with like beauty, beautification, changing your environment in order to bring that beauty in, or whatever feels the most harmonious. Also, it's interesting because with lizard, there's this energy of stagnation that comes through, and kind of finding your ways out of that stagnation. And for 5s, stagnation or the mundane can feel really claustrophobic. So you might find that in some of your relationships or some of your situations, or in your home or in your environment, it just feels very stagnant. And so you might want to really change some things up this year. I would say, again, take your time, use your discernment. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater this year. But this is an opportunity to get very grounded in your relationships, in, again, a deeper understanding of what you want, and to set those healthier goals for yourself that are achievable and that will help to move you out of any stagnation that you might feel. Also, if you've been feeling really stagnant in your love life, that again, this year could really spice things up for you and bring in a new partnership that feels very grounding, very stable, very secure. But they can also bring in a greater understanding of what's the difference between conditional love and unconditional love. So really beautiful year ahead for you all. I do think it might be a little bit sensitive, and 5s are notorious for wanting to be like super independent and, again, very like free without rules and restrictions and all of those things, and sometimes can see relationships as such. So this might have you moving through some of those sort of deeper emotions or deeper feelings about relationships and independence and interdependency, and kind of working through that, because you can absolutely have a very truly unconditional loving connection that is interdependent and not codependent. So beautiful energy here. I think it's going to be a powerful year for you all. Hope it's a good one. Take care. Bye for now. Life path number 6, you all are going to be working with a vibration of the 16-7 for 2026. This is a very intense, strong energy to be working with throughout the year. I can almost guarantee that there will be just some massive shifts and transformation within your life, within your experience, whether it's internal or external or both. How you start out the year will absolutely not be how you end the year. And what I mean by that is the 16-7 is notorious energy for creating sort of these greater shifts towards personal enlightenment, right? Like spiritual awakening, or again, just such profound transformation in our perspectives, in our understanding of ourselves and of the world and people around us. Just bringing in that just profound awareness, whether it's that greater awareness, again, of ourselves, of, again, others or the universe, or all of the above. So I do expect that 6s will have some very, very intense aha moments this year. But the intensity of this really comes from sort of the blindfold being taken off, sort of being ripped off, for you to see things much more clearly in one or many areas of your life. And it's through that greater awareness that you can then clearly see and clearly understand the next steps to take, like what direction to move in. So if you've been in a toxic relationship, if you've been in a toxic work environment, if you've been having really toxic, beliefs about yourself, and those beliefs, of course, drive your actions, then this is a year where you will likely see a lot of that deeper, like soul transformation take place. That deeper understanding of life, of, again, your place in this world in this moment, and what you want to do with that. So this can definitely be such an incredibly just transformative year for you all. And again, it's sort of like what we choose to do with it, right? It's like once that blindfold gets ripped off and we have the awareness and we see very clearly, again, like what direction to take or what relationships need attention or whatever, it's what we do with that awareness that ultimately determines, again, our experience. So we can have the awareness and fight it and try to stay in the way things were. But if that wasn't working, then we're just going to keep getting the same results. And eventually it's going to become so uncomfortable that we'll force ourselves to make the change that's necessary. So it's kind of like greater awareness comes in, and then the need for action to make the change comes in. So you're a participant in this full on. It's going to require you to show up and to make the necessary changes in order to complete the transformation. But it'll be 100% worth it. Whatever comes in for you, whether it's a spiritual transformation, a physical transformation, emotional, mental, whatever, you're going to feel so much more liberated at the end of the year. You're going to feel so much more free, assuming you do the work, you show up and you take the action in order to complete the transformation. But it is absolutely ripe for that for you all this year. This cycle can bring in unforeseen and sudden events that can really kind of overthrow those existing conditions, especially in the material sense and in the unseen kind of ethereal. So your thoughts, your beliefs about things, your values can totally shift during this year. And again, that comes through the experiences that you have that open your eyes to the reality of the situation and a deeper understanding of what you need to do in order to create the experience or the reality that you want to have. I would also say that, again, ideas and habits that aren't serving you will absolutely sort of be on the chopping block this year and need to be altered in some way. And again, it's up to you. You have free will, but it'll get so uncomfortable that you'll almost feel forced to make that change because your soul is like, we're not doing this anymore. It's not serving us. It's not serving anyone. We need to make the necessary changes. So again, it can be around your health. It can be around your living situations, your career, your belief systems, whatever. But there's major shifts that need to occur in order to sort of align you with your higher path, with a more evolved path. That's what the 16-7 really aims to do. Sort of disrupt what needs disruption in order to put us on the path of, that's of a higher octave. It's all about that evolution and that growth and that personal enlightenment that we're all seeking in this lifetime. It's not about transcendence and, that kind of guru chatter. It's about, finding that deeper understanding of ourselves. That's really what the 7 aims to do. And through that, we become enlightened to ourselves, a deeper understanding of ourselves, a deeper connection between our soul and this human experience. It's not about bypassing the human experience. It's about incorporating the soul into letting the soul drive, basically. And that then changes the experience. And sometimes we have to move through these 16/7 cycles in order for that greater transformation to occur, so that we can take the ego and put it in the passenger seat and let the soul drive. And then we start to get much more like higher frequency, much more soul aligned experiences. So that's the goal of the 16/7. But again, we have to have that deeper awakening to our own selves in order to have that experience. There can be losses and setbacks during a 16/7 cycle. But again, if there's losses or setbacks, it's because there's something that you're not seeing that you need to see. There's something that or maybe you've been on one path that has been destructive and you haven't realized it. The 16/7 is going to show you where that is. So then you can make the necessary changes in order to get different results. This would be a time where, I would be really mindful about getting involved in any kind of like scandal or doing anything without integrity, because this energy is going to really kind of just throw it back at you to where you're going to have to clean it up. You're going to have to face it, clean it up, be confronted by it, figure it out, take action to move in a different direction. Or you're going to continue to see those losses. You're going to continue to see those extreme challenges that are trying to push you in a different direction. So again, that also goes for like toxic relationships or toxic work environments or toxic home environment. This energy is going to sort of make it so severe that you find your courage and your confidence and your power to make changes, because those changes are necessary. The 16/7 is represented by the Tower card in tarot. And a lot of times when we see the Tower card come in, we're like, oh gosh, that, this gives me anxiety. I can't handle Tower energy. But the reality of Tower energy is that greater awareness. It's about awakening, right? That greater awareness, and that greater awareness oftentimes crumbles what is not working, because once we have the awareness, we don't lose it. We can't unsee what we have seen. And so it crumbles, or again, sort of disrobes what is not working, what is keeping us stuck, what is toxic, what is unhealthy. And so that's the crumbling. That's that lightning bolt that you see on the tarot card. It's depicting the aha moment, the awareness, that moment of awakening where you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore because it's not serving me. So I'm going to do it differently. And it's in that connection that we make, that understanding, that we crumble the situation because it's not working anymore. We're not doing it that way. We're choosing differently. And so it's really, really actually incredibly empowering. The 16/7 is an incredibly empowering cycle to move through. But it's going to force you to sort of break down the barriers that the ego has created. And again, put the ego in the passenger seat and let the soul drive. Now, because the energy sort of operating during this cycle can be so intense or require a lot of your energy, this is a time where you want to honor your need for solitude, for self-soothing, for self-care, not overworking, making sure that you are not burning the candle at both ends, asking for support where you need it. That can be hard for 6s, but this is a year you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to ask for what you need and then receive it graciously. You're going to kind of need that support and that understanding. So if you need time away, or you need that solitude, or you need those moments of self-soothing or self-care, take them, schedule them in for yourself. You get to decide that, make it a priority. You're going to need that in order to keep your cup full as you move through the transformation that this cycle will require of you. This can also be a very intuitive time. You could be getting downloads, insights, inspirations that are just coming through one after the other at this time. And I would say trust that, right? Listen to that generous advice of your soul, and it will help you to figure out the next steps. It'll help you to understand what path to move down next, and in order to get the experiences and the results that you want to see. This can be such a rewarding period. I know I kind of make it sound like super intense and like, oh my gosh, but it's going to be, it can be incredibly rewarding as well. It can bring in tremendous amount of opportunities to work with your creativity and your creative talents, to tap into some of your greater gifts, to work towards those future goals that could bring in a tremendous amount of good fortune or, prosperity, recognition, power, status, influence, all of these things. So though there can be loss under the 16, although remember that loss is what is needed to be removed in order for you to see more clearly and move forward in a higher octave, though there can be that loss, there's also that potential for incredible financial gains, fame, prosperity, feeling very fulfilled in where you find yourself once you've moved through this cycle. And remember, it's progressive energy. It's a year long, so it's not going to all happen at once. It'll happen throughout the year, what you need to kind of move through to see things more clearly and to make the appropriate choices in order to get the experience that you want to have. But just keep that in mind. The rewards are endless with this cycle, but you're going to have to do the work, of course, to get there, to open yourself up to those opportunities and to be ready when they come in. And you likely won't see those rewards or opportunities until you get closer to the end of next year or the end of 2026. So just kind of keep that in mind. I pulled an animal wisdom message for you all, and you got raccoon energy. And I love this because it just works so beautifully with the 16-7. And the reason for that is because the 16-7, again, the 7 is about greater self-discovery. It's about going deep beyond the illusion, beyond the surface layer, in order to gain that deeper understanding, that awakening. And it can feel like it kind of strips you bare. Like it's going to take you to the depths maybe you haven't been to. And with raccoon energy coming through, it brings in this level of curiosity that is so needed this year for you all. Be curious, right? Like, let the magic of the 7 really work with you, and ask the bigger questions, because you will get the answers, and it will likely require you to go deeper. So be curious as you're going deeper. Ask again by asking the questions, whether it's to the universe, to other people, to yourself. Great time to journal, to go deep. This energy is going to take you to the depths. So you might as well be curious and explore while you're there. Beautiful energy, very powerful cycle ahead of you all. I hope it's a great one. I know it will be. Take care. Bye for now. Life path number 7, you all are going to be working with a vibration of the 17-8 for 2026. And this is such a beautiful, benefic, good fortune type of energy. So this should be such a lovely year for you all. It really does have the opportunity to bring in much needed rewards for effort that you've put forth. It can bring in what feels like assistance from those around you, the universe, your soul, whatever. But it can just feel like kind of the tables turning and things falling into place and feeling right and feeling like the world is your oyster. So it's such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful vibration, beautiful cycle. This can be, again, very fortunate, where you can receive, again, those rewards, money, gifts, advancements, promotions, recognition. If you're starting a business, you could see that really take off at this time. You could see the sort of the public recognition come through, the return of investment. If you've been working towards something, this is really that energy of your wishes coming true, your dreams coming true. And it's everything that you've been working towards. It's the energy you've already been putting in. And so this is a year of reception, of like receiving. And that can be so incredibly rewarding. You have to be open to accept it, though. If you don't feel worthy, if you feel like it's not justified, if all of those things, then you can kind of, push it away and not sort of bask in the glory of it. So I would say stay open, what comes in for you, especially the good stuff. We sort of expect the bad stuff sometimes, but the good stuff, when it comes in for you, welcome it with open arms. You are so deserving of it. So accept it, be open. You are the star under this vibration of the 17. That's what this whole cycle is about, is putting you in the spotlight and giving you your time to shine. So shine. This is also a cycle where you could see significant improvements in many areas of your life. So, if you've been kind of grappling with medical issues, and of course, I'm not a doctor, this is just a general forecast for entertainment purposes only. But if, you've been kind of working with some kind of chronic health condition, you could see improvement there or find ways to manage that in some way. You could see a shift in your health, body, mind, spirit, your holistic health, through the actions that you're taking. Like, this doesn't happen without you type of thing. But any of that is possible. There could be new solutions that come about, maybe you stumble across some things that sound good for you to try out. So be curious and see where it takes you. You can also see sort of like the fire be lit beneath you, like feeling motivated, finding that ambition, setting new goals for yourself that are achievable. And you recognize that now. And so it can definitely put the wind back in your sails. You could definitely see greater insights and inspiration coming for you at this time that sort of sets you to sail on a new path, but a path that feels very aligned for you and so good and so rewarding. This is a cycle that renews hope. And so, stay positive, be positively expectant, expect to receive the good stuff. Be positive that things will happen in a good way that are for your benefit. Now, will there be challenges? Of course, because this is life and we live in a world and a universe of polarities. So there's always those challenges, those lessons to be learned, those experiences, those tests. And so, we always are moving through those, no matter how benefic the energy is that we're also moving through. But it benefits us to stay expectant of good things. Because even when we're moving through the difficulties of life, we have to stay expectant of the good things. We have to hold on to that optimism, that idealism, because that's what helps us push through those difficulties. And that's what helps us to get to the other side of them and to extract the wisdom of that experience. So it is to your benefit this year to understand that you are not only deserving, but you are entitled to the goodness of life. And this cycle can help to remind you of that by sprinkling in some of that goodness to remind you that, this is your birthright. Like, you're entitled to this. We all are. And this can be a cycle that just really helps you to, just reap those rewards that you've worked so hard for. Now, if there are specific challenges that you have been moving through and you continue to move through throughout 2026, this again brings that wind to your sails to help you to overcome any obstacle that you're faced with. And you will find a way to do so, just like you always have throughout your entire journey. You could feel a lot more alert, a lot more like mental vitality, a lot more excitement about what's to come or what's happening in your life at the moment. You become sort of this open channel to the universe, helping you to solve any problem that you're faced with. You feel unstoppable and channel that energy because you are unstoppable. You will find a way. And what lies on the other side of that obstacle, that's the good stuff. That's worth fighting for. That's worth moving towards. That's worth overcoming the difficulties in order to get there. This is a time also, and I mean, you're 7, so you're already incredibly intuitive and tuned in, but you will likely find this cycle that your intuitive and creative energies and powers are so pronounced. So you could definitely tap into some new gifts that you carry, just a greater sense of self, and learning to trust yourself, learning to trust others, learning to trust the universe as well. but through your intuitive nature. So, follow your gut. Let the external inform you of whatever it's trying to inform you of, but take that information and couple it with your intuition to make the most informed decision that's best for you in that moment. And that will bring the greatest satisfaction. This is a cycle where secrets could be revealed. So again, things lying beneath the surface that haven't always been clear could become very clear this year. And this is a time where I would say, stand in your truth. Be very truthful with others about what you need, what you want, how you feel, and allow them to do the same as well, of course. But this is a time where you are likely going to be very persuasive and your words can have a profound effect. So use them wisely is what I would say. And be really careful, be really mindful of allowing doubts to creep in. Don't let those doubts stop the goodness that wants to come in for you. Don't let the negative self-talk get in the way of your joy of reaping the rewards that you've worked so hard for. And, because when we kind of allow that negative self-talk to happen, when we allow that self-doubt to creep in, when we don't believe our worth or our value, then we start to fall into depression and pessimism and being cynical because we feel like the other shoe is going to drop. But that's not the case, right? We live in a world of polarities. So we're always kind of also grappling with the things that aren't comfortable, but that doesn't mean that we can't enjoy the comfortableness, the beauty, all of the things. So don't deprive yourself of the beauty because you're worried about the other shoe dropping or believing that you're not worthy or capable or whatever. You really have to overcome that, because it would be easy with working with such strong benefic energy to feel like, again, like, okay, this doesn't seem like, it seems too good to be true, or it doesn't seem like, why is this happening for me, and et cetera, et cetera. So just be careful about going down that rabbit hole because it doesn't serve you. So when the goodness comes in, whether it's through a relationship or a new promotion or a career change or whatever, be curious, trust it, believe that you are deserving and accept it. Be as quick to accept the goodness this year as you are to accept the negativity, if that's the case. Delve beneath the superficial irritants to the deeper person, the true I am of who you are, because that's what this year is calling for. Now, it's interesting. I pulled an animal wisdom message for you all, and you got duck energy. And immediately, of course, what came to mind was getting your ducks in a row. And I really do feel like this is a year for you to get your ducks in a row in all areas of your life, or any areas of your life where you feel like it's been discombobulated or where there's been imbalance. This is such a beautiful year where you are so supported, cosmically and physically and all the things to get your ducks in a row. So wherever it is, again, maybe that the negative self-talk has been impeding your joy or whatever, then that's the area that needs some TLC. That's the area that needs the work. So get in there and do the work and receive the benefits. And that is getting your ducks in a row. So any area of your life that, again, feels like it's out of touch or just out of balance, this is such a beautiful, supportive year to, get your ducks in a row. So love this, love this, love this. I would say this is an opportunity to ask yourself a question and then seek the answer with an open mind and with curiosity, right? Or ask the universe a question, especially in those areas of life where you feel out of balance. And be open to the answer that comes in with open-mindedness and curiosity. Because all answers are available if we look in the right place, and if we're asking the right questions, and if we're open to receiving the answer. So this is a cycle where there can absolutely be greater revelations. A surprising and sort of a previously unknown fact can sort of make its way known in quite a dramatic way. So a lot of clarity, a lot of confirmation, a lot of just getting your ducks in a row this year. Beautiful cycle for you all, sevens. I hope it's a great one. Take care. Bye for now. life path number 8, you are going to be working with the vibration of the 18-9 for 2026. This is big energy. This is like evolutionary growth and development and tremendous healing, which I know people are so sick of hearing about, like healing, but it can be very deep, deep healing, whether it's with relationships, whether it's with yourself and your emotions or past trauma or whatever. There can be this deep, deep healing that takes place. Beautiful year for, working with a mentor, working with a therapist, working with a healer of some sort that can bring you back to yourself, to really get to the core of whatever it is maybe that's, you've been struggling with, or maybe again, this year could bring out that deeper understanding of what it is that's kind of been keeping you stuck or moving beyond some of the difficulties that maybe you've been moving through. And so this is such a great year to get to the core or the root of the problem so that you can figure out how to move beyond it, right? How to work with it, how to manage it, how to transmute it, and to move forward. This is a cycle that can absolutely bring in a tremendous amount of spiritual unfoldment that won't come in all at once. It will likely come, progressively as the year progresses. But this is a time where you could really change the internal side of things in order to change the outward structure of things, if that makes sense, right? So the internal work that you do this year will have a profound effect on the external and your experience and how you experience things and how you view things and how you internalize things. Very powerful year for you 8s. When it comes to this deeper spiritual work, because ultimately that's what it is, right? It's our soul coming in to sort of realign the ego and to kind of put the ego in its place a little bit. Put the ego in the passenger seat as the soul sits in the driver's seat. There's a lot of that this year. So beautiful energy here. You could find out also, because again, there's such a strong healing component. If you've been going through any health issues, you could really get to the core of the issue of what it is so that you can, again, find better ways to manage that, whatever that is. This is a year where you're really being asked to treat your temple well, right? Your temple, of course, is your body, but all that encompasses. So holistic, so body, mind, spirit. So where it is that maybe spiritually you've been disconnected, this year will help you get reconnected. Where maybe physically you haven't been feeling 100% or good in your own body, this year will help you to figure out what's missing or where there needs to be some TLC to help you get reconnected to yourself in order to heal those pieces that need to be healed to get you to, again, feeling your best. And then same thing with emotionally or mentally, where it is that you have those thoughts or those reoccurring thoughts or those self-debilitating thoughts or beliefs, right? that are sabotaging you or deterring you from living to your greatest potential. That will be addressed this year or has the potential to be addressed this year. And through this process, you will likely tap into even greater gifts that you weren't aware that you had, that you were capable of. And that can be quite profound, that you will then translate into your work in the world, your contribution in the world in some way. So just an incredibly pivotal, powerful year for you all 8s. One thing with 8 energy, when we talk about 8 energy, we talk about the physical aspects of the 8 because that's such a strong keynote, right? Power, money, status, influence, integrity, using that, your power, money, status, influence to do good in the world, etc. But we don't often spend a lot of time on the spiritual component of the 8, and it's a highly spiritual number. It's a highly spiritual vibration. There's meant to be that deep, deep, deep spiritual connection to your higher self, to the unseen, so that when you take the risks that you're meant to take as an 8, when you take that risk and it doesn't work out the way that you wanted it to, or you hit those valleys, right? You hit those lows, you're able to connect to your higher self, to your higher consciousness, and to understand that it's not failure. It says nothing about you. It's simply, you got to pick yourself back up and try again. And that deep, deep spiritual connection that the 8 is meant to have helps you to do that, helps you to keep moving forward and keep taking the risks and not get stuck in the sort of the rumination of, I'm not good enough, obviously I'm a failure, blah, 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 right? So this year can be so incredibly healing and profound, especially with a spiritual component. Because again, at the core of this cycle, you're working with that 9 energy, and that is sort of that direct channel to the unseen, to a higher source, to spirituality. So there's that. So I think that, and again, it's progressive because it's a year-long cycle. So you're not going to see all this right in January. It's going to continue to unfold throughout the year. So it can be a sensitive year because you will likely have to face things that maybe you haven't wanted to face. You might be confronted with things about yourself or about your experience or about others or about the universe that you didn't feel ready to be confronted with. And you'll have to move through that. And you'll have to kind of course, figure it out, but you will. And this energy will help you to do that. But so yeah, it can be really, really profound in that sense and be very sort of spiritually awakening, right? I'm not saying you're not already spiritually woke, but this year it can be a sensitive year, but it can also be one that brings in just a tremendous amount of self-empowerment and greater self-understanding. Understanding that, again, you're this spirit having a human experience. And you're not meant to bypass the human experience. You're meant to incorporate the soul into this human experience. And that's the spiritual side of things. So very, very, very powerful cycle this year. Now, with the 9 cycle can also come endings, closure, closing things out, tying up loose ends, releasing, right? Not everything in life is transient, but the 9 comes in and reminds us of that. So there will likely be things that close out at this year that maybe you're ready for, maybe you're not ready for. But if it comes in a 9 cycle, if release comes during a 9 cycle, it is always for your highest good and the highest good of all involved. It's a release that allows for new beginnings. And if that release didn't occur, then there wouldn't be space for the new beginning. And it's time for the new beginning, especially come 2027 for you all. So because again, this 9 cycle, it's not about necessarily starting new things or forcing or pushing really hard or all those things. It's a softer energy. It's more about receptivity, seeing what comes to you this year, and then deciding how you want to work with it, formulating a plan, getting ready. Use this year to, again, clear your plate, stop procrastinating, get the projects off your plate that need to get removed, release the toxicity in your life, release what needs to be released this year. That's the work, that's the focus. And then at the same time, be open to the inspirations, the downloads, the ideas, the new beginnings, the new opportunities that present to you. You don't have to go out looking for them. You don't have to force it. See what comes to you, and then start to formulate your plan. 8s are great visionaries. When you get the idea, when you get the vision, you're so awesome at making it happen. So this year, it's not about being overly ambitious and forcing. It's about that receptivity, allowing the goodness to come to you, allow the opportunities to come to you, and then you decide how to work with it and start formulating your plan. Because come 2027, when you're in a 1 cycle, especially a 19-1 cycle, holy guacamole, the new beginnings are going to be just endless. And the new opportunities. So yeah, use this year very wisely. It can be a little bit frustrating for 8s because you're being asked to slow down. You're being asked to just be very, very present and, keep your eye on the prize, but dial it into the very present moment throughout the year and don't force things. Take your foot off the gas. If things are flowing and they're moving, keep moving with them, keep flowing, keep putting your energy there until, that momentum ceases, then you'll know that it's time to pause. But this is not a year for, taking big risks or starting new things or all those things. This is a time, like I said, you sort of weaved your web. Now see what comes to you this year, because it's going to set the stage for what you're about to embark on come 2027, which will likely be quite significant, especially if you work with this energy wisely. Definitely pay attention to your dreams. Oh my gosh. Like your dreams, the visions that come in, the downloads, the inspirations, the ideas, your imagination might be running wild this year. Go with it. Write it down. You don't have to understand what you're going to do with it, but write down whatever comes in for you. If it feels significant and you don't know why, just write it down, because you will likely come back to it, especially in 2027, and you can build from there. Again, new plans, new ideas are all kind of likely going to be forming this year. Don't start those new projects, but again, allow the ideas, the inspirations to germinate. This is because they will blossom later. This is a time to stay present and consider the necessary changes that are needed at this time. Do the deeper work, and you'll figure it out as you go, type of thing. Definitely pay attention to your thoughts. Remember, our thoughts, or at least the thoughts we say yes to, drive our actions, which drive our experience. So pay really close attention to your thoughts. If you start going down the rabbit hole of, again, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, you're lacking confidence, whatever, don't avoid it, because that's showing you where you need some TLC, there's some work to be done, that healing needs to take place. But be very mindful of what you say yes to, what you agree with, the thoughts that you agree with. And if you're agreeing with those thoughts that say you're not capable, you're not worthy, all the things, go deeper. Why? Why do you feel that way? Why do you believe that? And that's where some of that deeper work with like a therapist or a healer or whatever could really come into play this year to help you to break free from that rumination or those thoughts that keep sabotaging you. And again, it's not about like toxic positivity, but just be very mindful of the thoughts that you say yes to, that you agree with, and ask yourself why. Again, ask yourself the bigger questions. Ultimately, this year brings in a tremendous opportunity to clear the clutter, to get organized, to organize your life. Whatever areas feel cluttered, whatever areas feel too restricted or too much going on. Maybe you're overburdened in some area. This is a time to clear the clutter. Clean your home, right? Organize your desk, finish up the odds and ends, clear the clutter of the mind. All of these things can sort of direct your energy towards fulfilling your greater dreams and visions that will likely come in, and will help you to understand the future direction that you need to follow, that you're setting the stage for this year. So really, really powerful cycle here. The other thing I will say, because it is a 9 cycle, is deep soul connections could absolutely come in this year. So if you're single, you might meet someone who's a soulmate, something like that. Very possible. Or a new friend who's a deep, deep connection. Any of that is possible in a 9 cycle. So keep that in mind. And I pulled an animal wisdom message for you all. And it's interesting because you got coyote energy. And coyotes usually get tagged as like the trickster kind of energy, or being deceitful, that sort of thing. But with the trickster energy, if we kind of go with that theme, what I would say is, this is kind of coming back to you. And where it is that you self-sabotage yourself, or where you sabotage relationships if they're not, to protect yourself or whatever. With Coyote coming through and in conjunction with this 18-9 cycle, I do think this is such a beautiful cycle to figure that out. Like figure out where is it that your thoughts or your actions end up sabotaging something that has the potential to be really good, whether it's out of fear or whatever it stems from. But this is such a beautiful year to tackle that and to figure that out and to take ownership and responsibility and accountability for all of that too, right? Especially if there's relationships where, it was sort of too good to be true and you sort of were afraid that you were going to get hurt, so you sabotaged it or something like that. This is an opportunity to take a closer look at that, not for the reasons of like shame or guilt or whatever, but just so that you don't continue to do it in the future. When good things start to come in for you, that you don't sabotage it because out of fear or whatever, or imposter syndrome or whatever. So I think it's going to be an interesting, very deep year for you all. And there can be a lot of success and all of that comes in as well this year under this cycle. But again, there's no you forcing it. See what comes your way. I think it has the potential to be such an incredibly beautiful year. I hope it's a great one. Take care, 8s. Bye for now. Life path number 9, you all are going to be working with a vibration of the 19-1. What a big year for you all 9s. So not only are you working with this, obviously, I mean, you do this every year, but not only are you working with the energy of the universal cycle, which is also 1 energy, but you're working with it with your own life path energy. So big year for new beginnings for you all, new starts, new initiations, being the leader of, in some area of your life, stepping into some kind of leadership role. This is a year that will likely be full of, again, fresh starts, new beginnings, new initiations, taking risks, putting yourself out there, taking the lead, whether you feel ready or not. Really, this energy is going to push you to make a decision and go for it. This can feel a little bit like internal tug of war this year, only because, the 1 energy is on the opposite side of the spectrum from the 9. And so what you're sort of being called to step into in this lifetime is that of the vibration of the 9, the humanitarian, right? The giver, the one who shows up, of service, all of these more like nurturing, giving, supportive type of energies. But when you move through a 1 cycle, it can be quite powerful because it's that reminder that yourself and you, right? Yourself, your identity, who you are, is such an important piece in all this. So when you move through a 1 cycle, it's helping you to figure that out. Like, who am I? And what is my place in the world? And what do I want my place in the world to be? What is my contribution? What do I want? What steps do I need to take in order to move in that direction? And the reason why I say it can feel a little bit like tug of war, especially if you're deeply within your 9 life path, is because the 1 energy is about self. So it can feel a little selfish. But sometimes in life, we need to be selfish because in order to go after what we want, what our goals are, we need to be a little bit selfish. That doesn't mean that we, go against others or try to dominate or control others, or it doesn't have anything else to do with anybody else, to be honest. It's about you. It's about the individual. And so this year, it's going to test you to see, where is it that you sacrifice yourself? Where is it that you don't take up enough space? Where is it that you stop yourself from taking the risk because maybe you don't feel like you deserve that win? Maybe you don't feel like you, whatever. And so this year is just going to keep putting the focus on you, the individual. And you will likely have to make some really maybe difficult, but very important decisions this year that will put you in that leadership role of your own life. And there's going to be probably opportunities where maybe you've committed to something. Maybe you've said yes to something that you didn't want to say yes to, or you didn't want to commit to. Maybe you overburdened yourself. And so this year is going to push you to stand up for yourself, speak up for yourself. It's going to remind you that you are your own best advocate. And so you need to use that power wisely. So yeah, there can be that little bit of push-pull, feeling like a little bit of shame or guilt because maybe you're really putting yourself first this year. And it doesn't mean that you're neglecting the 9 side of you. You can't do that, right? I mean, you won't do that because life is always happening, that you stepping into that life path number is always happening. So those opportunities are also very present, but it's about finding that like sweet spot in the center where you are not neglecting yourself, nor are you neglecting others, where you are in that happy medium, that space that feels, in balance. And so again, this year could be a lot about understanding where it is that you're selling yourself short, where it is that you're not speaking up for yourself, where it is that you're not taking up enough space, where it is that you're not taking the risk and you're sabotaging yourself. So there's a lot that could come in around that for you all. But on the flip side of this, the 19-1 is a very benefic energy when it comes in a cycle. It can bring a lot around love and marriage and rewards and obstacles being overcome, and of course, new beginnings. This is about regeneration, new starts, building something or reconstructing something in a different way that fits better, that works better, that feels much more aligned. So this is really an opportunity to, just go all in and build the life that you want to live, the experience that you want to have through your decisions, through your actions. This is not an idle energy. This is one where if you have the idea, if you have the inspiration, you will likely find your motivation and your ambition to put in the effort and make it happen. If you're kind of sitting back and just waiting for life to do it for you, then you're going to get what you get. But if you have the vision, have the goal, have the idea, whatever, and you're all in and you put in the effort, you're going to see the results. You're going to see the rewards. You're going to overcome the obstacles that are standing in your way, that are keeping you from getting the results you want to see. It's a very powerful cycle, but of course it doesn't happen without you and without the effort that you're being asked to put in. If there's things that you've been working on for quite some time, or maybe since recently, this is a year where you could see those rewards come in full force. And again, it's a year-long cycle, so it's progressive. So usually we don't see, the full potential of a cycle, obviously, until we get to the end of it. Then we can kind of look back and be like, oh, okay, this is why X, Y, and Z had to happen, and look at what I've done. So, towards the end of the year, as you start to move into 2027, you will be seeing how you've overcome those obstacles and how those rewards have been plentiful. As long as you, again, don't remain idle, as long as you don't fight that, whatever this one energy is trying to teach you about yourself or push you to take ownership of and to become that leader within. But also, again, kind of at its core, this 19 is known to be a love vibration. So new relationships that are very soulful, deep connections could absolutely be coming in for you at this time. Marriage under this vibration can be incredibly fortunate and long lasting. Happiness and contentment are enhanced by good fortune and material affairs through this vibration. So again, whether it's a relationship, maybe you I don't want to say marry into money, but maybe you're combining two forces of, two people who have done really well for themselves, and you're just enhancing your fortune that way. Inheritance is also possible during this cycle. It can just be a very fortunate vibration. Things that you've, again, business of endeavors, things that you've initiated in the past or that you initiate this year, you could see quite a big return of your investment. So it can prove to be quite fortunate. Happy reunions with friends, family, colleagues that you've worked with in the past could resurface at this time and just bring you joy. Rewards, honors, things that, again, you're in the spotlight. This is your year to really be in the spotlight and to sell yourself, put yourself out there, market yourself, get your name out there, get your face out there. If there's a project that you're working on, get it out there, launch it. Amazing year for launches, for new endeavors, anything that, again, is, putting your best foot forward and getting yourself out into the world, whether it's through your work or your presence or whatever. This is the year to do it, and you will likely see significant rewards from that. Maybe not this year, although it's very possible you will under this 19 cycle, but in the years that follow for sure. And it's also very possible that what you initiate this year, can be something quite significant and profound. And I say that because you are quite literally right along with the universal cycle, starting a whole new cycle, a full new 9 cycle, right? 1 through 9, and you're at the very beginning. So what you start now, what you initiate, what you invest into could be something that you continue to build and grow over the course of the next 9 years. And you may not see that full fulfillment until you hit that 9 cycle down the road. But that just tells you how big this could be. This is a time to really think about what you want to build, what you want to initiate, what you want to be a part of, what you want to invest in. All of these things, because there are pieces of it, there are seeds that you're going to plant this year that will take the 9 years to fully germinate and to blossom and bloom and come to fruition. So it's such a significant cycle. It really, truly is, especially because you've got the power of the universal cycle behind you. So just a very, very big year for you all. And this is also a cycle that can promise greater liberation of some sort through prosperity, giving you more options, giving you that sense of comfort and stability and security that maybe you've been looking for. For some of you, maybe you're retiring, maybe you hit the lottery. I mean, there's so many options. There's just so many new beginnings that are possible under this cycle. But I think you'll find that your vitality is strong, that your energy, your drive, your ambition are absolutely at a high, this year as you continue along the year. And it's really pushing you to embrace your independence, to take a chance, and you will likely be very successful. It doesn't mean that you're not going to work alongside of others or with others. That's just part of your nature, and it's your life path, right? You are the humanitarian, so that part does not ever get negated or overshadowed. But there's just such a strong emphasis on what is your contribution? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to, all these things? And that can really, the ambition can be running high, and your drive to achieve those goals can be running high. And it's going to, again, require you to take the leap of faith, believe in yourself, trust your judgment, and go for it. And it can have a really, these new beginnings can have this life energizing force behind them that can promote that growth and that can really kind of assure success, whether it's now or in the next 9 cycles that follow, or the next 8 cycles that follow. So yeah. Now, one thing I would say is, and this might be something that you all as 9s don't really have to grapple with, but you're working with a lot of 1 energy here. And so you just want to be careful about being too impulsive or too reactionary. Just make sure that, you're planning and preparing accordingly. You're taking your time. You are patient. You have a plan or a strategy on how you want to achieve these goals. And the other thing I love about this too, it's like this 19-1 energy, especially for a 9, creates the environment to where you'll be able to step even more securely into your 9 energy. It will create the environment so where you have the resources and the availability to be able to be of service in a much bigger way. So it's not purely for selfish reasons that we move through a 19-1 cycle. It's not truly selfish at all. The only kind of selfish piece of it is that the focus is on self and making sure that we're showing up authentically in truth and, in our own autonomy, which isn't really selfish. But so really this 19-1 energy is such a beautiful blessing as you begin this next 9 cycle over the next course of the next, full 9 years to help you to achieve your 9 life path even more fully. So it's incredibly beautiful. I would say watch every opportunity and keep, a positive outlook about your abilities. Trust yourself, because this is a time where you can achieve whatever goals you put your mind to. So make sure that they feel right for you. They feel good. They're done with integrity. And a tremendous amount of happiness and success and satisfaction are so possible under this vibration. So the choice is always yours. And it's so funny because I pulled an animal wisdom message for you all and you got cat energy. And I love this because, when we think about cats, we think about like independence. I mean, like cats are like the most independent creatures, I think. And, they have very high standards and they have, very solid boundaries and they just are, they are very autonomous. And it's interesting because that's such a perfect energy when it comes to one energy. You're going to be asked to really come into your identity and to really honor yourself and to, again, be your best advocate, express yourself and find your independence, especially if there's areas of your life where you've been struggling with codependency. This is going to be a call to really step into your independence and to honor that and to, it's a vibration of empowerment, truly, and that leadership energy. Now, I do want to say though, just like with cats, you are meant to work with others and connect with others and collaborate with others, right? Cats get along with other people and cats who respect their boundaries, who respect them as the individual that they are. And so you are meant to connect with people who respect you, who allow you to have, take up enough space in a connection and all of these things. So a lot of that could be taken a look at this year. Also, where you feel like you're being taken advantage of, that could be nipped in the bud this year. And those relationships could be released this year. There's a lot of that could also kind of come into play as you step into your greater sense of self and greater self-awareness. You will likely see relationships fall away. You will likely see those connections that don't respect you or don't honor that, your autonomy start to fall away. People who are taking advantage of you will likely fall away because you won't put up with it. You won't allow for it anymore. And that is also a lot of the power of the 19-1 cycle, of a one cycle, and especially with cat energy coming through. So yeah, very empowering year for you all nines. And yeah, just remember, you have to be an active participant though to get the rewards. And I have no doubt you will. So I hope it's a great one. Take care, nines. Bye for now. Life Path 11-2, you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 21-3 throughout 2026. This is a beautiful energy. I think you're going to see throughout various areas of your life or many areas of your life some significant shifts. You could see some things coming to completion, like, meaning like everything has kind of come together. You've had the ingredients. You were able to put everything together and bake the cake, so to speak. And so you could see maybe mid-year things really coming to culmination, things, goals being reached, things that you've been moving towards being fulfilled and reaching some kind of sound satisfaction from that experience. But I also think that there's a possibility that a lot in your world could shift, could change, but for what feels like the better, what feels like you're getting some momentum, the ideas or the inspirations have come in, the people, places, things have presented to help you to achieve these new goals that maybe you've set for yourself. It just feels like, again, things gelling, things coming together this year, things making more sense, a lot more clarity, but not just the clarity, the tools and the resources that you need in order to move forward and to take the next steps towards your greater goals or towards whatever it is that you want to achieve this year. This is definitely one of those energies where I would say, be open to the change that wants to come in. It doesn't feel like one of those transformations or changes that are like, heavier. It feels more like change for the better. Like it feels light. It feels good. It feels like what comes in for you this year will help you to make the necessary adjustments or changes needed in order to feel most aligned with, again, your purpose or your path or whatever it is, your relationships, whatever. I would say travel will likely come up for some of you this year, and this would be a beautiful year to say yes to that. The people that you can meet, the places that you can kind of experience, the cultures can really have such a profound effect on your perspective, on, again, inspirations and ideas coming in for you that you might not have been able to tap into without that very physical sort of embodied experience. So if travel comes up for you, I would say make it happen if you can. This is definitely a year where you can start to, like I said, see things kind of come to fruition, but in a way where you start to see the rewards of your efforts. You can see some success come in at this time. Now, again, it's a year-long cycle, so that success, those significant rewards, even some of the changes, understanding those changes likely won't come until you head towards the end of 2026 because it's a progressive energy. So there's a lot that sort of needs to unfold, obviously, throughout the year. But I think as you head towards the end of 2026, you could see a lot of the beauty and the gifts of this 21-3 vibration coming for you. Now, of course, this all hinges on your participation, right? So what I would say to you is don't dismiss the opportunities that come in for you too quickly. So again, if like an opportunity comes up to travel or to connect with someone, to network, to collaborate, don't be too quick to say no to it because it doesn't make sense maybe on the surface, or maybe you can't see, again, on the surface layer, the sort of greater potential. And so, you might be quick to dismiss it because it doesn't fit sort of the criteria that maybe you have in your mind of what you want it to look like. But I would say this is a year to be open to what comes your way and be curious and explore, because this is a year that you could definitely tap into, gifts or ideas or parts of yourself that you didn't even know were there. And it might come through other people, or it might come through travel, or it might come through, again, taking a risk or trying something new or saying yes to those opportunities that might look insignificant on the surface. But as you explore further and you're curious and you dive in, you can actually really truly see the potential of whatever this may be. I would also say manage your emotions and your reactivity this year. It might be, there can be a lot of high energy this year, especially when you're working with 3 energy and 1 energy as well. 1 can bring in that impulsivity, can bring in that like need for speed. And I would say be really careful about being overly impulsive, overly reactive. Again, like too quick to dismiss something or too quick to say yes or say no. Take your time. There's no rush. Again, be curious, explore, connect with people, have those conversations, see what it leads to. If you find yourself in situations where you do feel sort of emotionally charged or reactive, then take a pause, step back, see how you can come back to neutrality so that you can make the most informed decisions, but also ones that are driven by sound judgment and not that the charged emotions. So just be mindful of that this year. There can be a lot of high energy, and it can be easy to kind of get swept up in that and be more reactive. So bring it back, be responsive, take your time, and you'll get the most out of this cycle for sure. Now, I had talked about change coming in for you all this cycle, and it's kind of that energy of change where it's making way for the new. So new revealed opportunities, insights, inspirations can come your way. And that can bring in some kind of solution or opportunity for you to realize some of your greater goals, plans, hopes, dreams, wishes, desires, all those things. So again, I say, don't be too quick to overlook the opportunities that come your way this year. Because they might look very different, again, than what you expect them to look like. Now, plans that are already in progress, projects that are already in progress, relationships, those can kind of really move forward or be taken to the next level. Also, projects, creative endeavors can come to completion. Meaning, obviously, you've done the work, you've brought it to fruition, and that's where you'll likely see those rewards come in. And so this year could be dedicated to really focusing your energy on those bigger goals, projects that you have in mind that you want to, again, bring an inspiration or idea to life. And you have the support this year to really make that happen and to see significant either movement or rewards in that area of your life, which is really positive. And, again, it's going to require you, obviously, you're the main character of this story. So it's going to require you to show up and put in the effort and all the things and make the decisions and see it through to completion. But it can be so incredibly rewarding. Now, the ideas and the inspirations that do come in for you this year, these need to be carried out now. This is a time for taking action. This energy is not idle. This is one where you want to bring those ideas to life. So again, connect with others, brainstorm, collaborate, all those things that can help you. Find people who have the strengths where you have the limitations to help you to make it happen. Network, whatever you need to do to bring those plans to life, those inspirations or ideas to life. And the potential for success with that is very high under this cycle. You can absolutely, not to sound cliche, but you can absolutely accomplish whatever you put your mind to this year. The support is there. And again, like I said at the beginning, the people, places, things will likely present to you in order for you to make it happen. You're just going to have to overcome, obviously, any kind of self-doubt or fear of the unknown or any of those things in order to make it happen. It's very possible for some of you that you could step into something that really opens you up to a greater sense of freedom, a greater sense of being able to express yourself in a way that feels very true, very authentic, like you're being seen, you're being acknowledged. Even if you're not, there's this freedom with this energy, again, that allows you to tap into your autonomy, your truth, and to express that fully. You have to say yes to it, of course. You could see some changes with jobs, some changes in residence, and that can occur because you're recognizing the need for that change. And again, it's about taking the action necessary to make that happen. So yeah, ultimately this cycle for you all, incredibly beautiful. This is one of reward. So, first you have to kind of realize the opportunities that are kind of coming in for you now can help you to fulfill your dreams, desires, inspirations, all of those things. So you have to say yes to them and not be too quick to dismiss. And I think you're going to be really happy with the outcome as you inch closer to 2027. Now, I pulled an animal wisdom message for you all, and very appropriately, you got the goat, and you are the goat. You are the goat this year. And the goat energy really brings in the sense of, overcoming obstacles, overcoming fear, overcoming, having persistence and seeing things through to completion, not giving up too quickly, not giving up too easily, staying steadfast in the knowing that where you dedicated your time and energy is towards what you want to see fulfilled. So, keep going and you will get there. You will get to the summit and the view will be worth every step that you took to get there. Very powerful energy this year for you all 11s. I hope it's a great one. You've got to take advantage of it, but I hope it's a great one. Take care. Bye for now. Life Path 22-4. So I am loving the energies that we are working with for 2026. I am claiming it now. We're going to be working with the vibration of the 32-5. And a lot of times when we're working with the cycle of the 5, it can bring in unexpected change, transformation, shifts, aha moments. And it can feel a little bit chaotic and disruptive. And I'm not saying that we're not going to feel that this year, working with this 5 energy. But because we have the vibration of the 32, which is a higher octave of the 5, this really brings in kind of the rewards after the change. So this is a time where, this is a very supportive, very favorable cycle to move through. And so it's kind of like, you've, again, being a 22-4, you've done the work, you've put in the effort, you've been, showing up, all of the things. And this year is kind of that energy where things start to really fall into place, the people, places, things come that, support you, that recognize the effort you've put in. It would not be unheard of to see a tremendous amount of recognition this year. If you own your own business, you might see a significant uptick in clientele, recognition, platform, all of these things. If you have launched something recently or at any point in time, or if you're looking to launch it this year, I would say go for it. You could see a lot of momentum happen quite quickly. And as fours, we are not used to rapid, return of investment. But this year could bring that, or what feels like that. Usually because, again, we're 22 fours. We've put in the effort, we've done the work, we've continued to persevere and show up. And now this is a cycle where, again, we could see that those rewards come in, things coming to completion, but in a way where, the work is being put out there, our presence is being recognized, noticed, all of those things. A greater sense of victory is very, very possible at this time. Good news coming in, hearing from, people, places, things that we've been wanting to hear from. We could get that communication, and that communication could push us forward in a significant way. So if you've been waiting to hear about that job, you might hear really good news about it. This is a very, very supportive cycle, but it's also, or can be, very rewarding. Now, will there be challenges and obstacles? Of course, because this is life and we live in a world and a universe of polarities. So, we can't really escape those. But I don't know that when we work with something or an energy like the 32-5, it's almost like those obstacles don't feel as difficult, don't feel as challenging to overcome. We have a way of just kind of easily flowing over them and moving forward without much, without being derailed too easily. So yeah, a very, very favorable cycle where, again, things will come in likely that can help us to reach the goals that we've set for ourselves. And again, alongside of that recognition that what we have to contribute has value. There will likely be, again, whatever you're putting out into the world, there will be a need for it, and you will see people come in who need that service or that your expertise or your advice or whatever it may be. And it's not necessarily just about the recognition or the honor or the rewards that could come in at this time or throughout this year. Remember, this is a year-long cycle, so this is progressive. It's very possible you won't see some of these greater rewards or recognition until we get closer to 2027 as we start to close out the cycle. But I think you're going to find this year to be very rewarding overall anyway. But it's not just about the recognition. It's about truly enjoying the pleasure earned from your efforts, especially as a 22-4, because I know there's been a lot of effort, whether it's with your relationships or your career or working on yourself or your health or whatever. When you see those rewards start to happen, it's about enjoying the pleasure associated with those rewards because of your effort. So give yourself the time and the opportunity to celebrate yourself and your achievements this year. Every opportunity that you have, when something good comes in for you this year, just know you have worked so hard for it. You earned it. So give yourself the time to celebrate it. Don't just sweep right over it and on to the next thing, which can happen with 22-4. So you want to give yourself that time for recognizing yourself, again, what you have achieved, because that also helps to overcome some of that self-doubt that can creep in as a 22-4. When we see that, where we put our energy and our attention has power and we can create what we set out to create, it might look different than when we first initiated it. But when we can see that we really are the master builders, we do have the opportunity and the ability to build very significant things in this lifetime. Again, whether it's beautiful relationships or greater resources or whatever it might be that we're putting out into the world, it stems from us. And so often we don't give ourselves enough time to recognize that or celebrate that. But that recognition that we give ourselves can actually help to build our confidence and, again, help us to overcome that imposter syndrome or overcome that self-doubt or the fear that might come up when we're taking those bigger risks, when we're a part of something bigger. So this is, it's not just about, again, the rewards coming in. It's about recognizing everything you did to get there in order to receive that reward or that success or that achievement, whatever it might be, or completing the project or reaching the summit, whatever it is, like whatever goal you have set up for yourself, achieving that goal. One thing I will emphasize, because for 22/4s, it's so easy to hit the goal and then immediately start on the next one. Give yourself time to really embrace these achievements as they come in because you've worked so hard for them. I know you have. Now, this is a cycle also where if you're moving through difficult situations, if you're, in a difficult or toxic environment or relationship, or again, just moving through some extreme challenges, this is a cycle where you could find that you are able to overcome them. You're able to settle disputes. You're able to come out on top. And so any settlements that are made throughout this cycle can absolutely fall in your favor. And if it's some kind of like legal proceeding and there's a judgment and maybe the money or something like that doesn't go to you, but there can be that sense of like gratitude and relief that it's over, that there's closure. And so, sometimes the rewards look different than what we want them to look like, but it's possible, again, this year you could see things really fall in your favor, right? What's in your best interest. The other thing I will say is it's likely that you'll find, again, people, friends, family to be very supportive at this time, very helpful. Now, there's a kicker here. There's a key here that, you're going to have to ask for the support that you need. Or there might be people coming in and offering that support, but you're going to have to accept that support. And a lot of times for 22/4s, it's really hard for us to recognize or to honor or to accept our limitations, right? Because 22/4 is very independent, very solution focused. We want to get it done and we want to do it ourselves. But this could be a year where, and this is important, especially as a 22, because there's such that strong collaborative energy that we're meant to tap into and embrace. But you could see people present who want to support you, who have strengths where you have limitations. Or maybe you need to ask for that support when you recognize what your limitations are and you find those people who have those strengths. But you're going to have to ask for it and accept it. And that's going to be key because the support is there to help you to work smarter, not harder. And so you've got to be the one who's actively seeking it out or actively taking it, accepting it, because it can be incredibly helpful. And it's okay to rely on others to help you with whatever it is that you need, whether it's socially or in business or just support, to be able to get the work done that you want to get done. So ask for that support. Also, beautiful energy this year to seek out therapy. A lot of times with 22/4s, those emotions are suppressed. There's like trauma you went through early in childhood or things you've had to move through that were really difficult. A lot of times with 22/4s, we can kind of push that to the side because we don't have time to deal with it because there's just too much to do. But this is a year where I would say, again, seek out the support that can help you to be the best version of yourself in this moment so that you can go after those big goals that you want to go after. And so you can receive those rewards. So yeah, a lot of nuance this year, but really empowering, very supportive energy overall, completely. But you're the active participant that has to obviously show up to claim it. The other thing I would say too is don't lose sight of your messaging. Don't lose sight of, again, your contributions, what you have to offer, because there's going to be people who seek you out, who are drawn to your whatever it is that you're bringing to the world. And so, yeah, highlight that, emphasize it, put it out in the world, hang up the sign, you're ready for business, let's go. And so this is such a great year to do that because the spotlight is on us. So what are we going to do with that? And it can feel almost magical, like, again, things falling in our lap, but the piece of the puzzle is we've done the hard work to get here. I would say also, don't allow pride to kind of get in the way of your accomplishments, right? So don't be too petty. Don't be petty at all, I would say. Don't be petty, work to release the control where you don't have control. All the general themes of the 22-4, because that's what could trip you up. That's what could sabotage you. That's what could make, this year more challenging than it absolutely needs to be. Because again, overall, very much a very benefic cycle for us. This is a cycle where, again, very spiritual as well, which is, again, ties into the 4 energy. So use your intuition, follow that inner guidance, allow your soul to kind of work through you, to take the driver's seat. Put your ego in the passenger seat, let your soul drive. I think you're going to find a lot of moments this year where you can see your soul has taken over the conversation or has taken the wheel. And yeah, let it go, let it flow, see where it takes you, because it's always going to be in your highest interest. But you've got to follow your intuition in order to allow it to speak through you. I pulled an animal wisdom message for us. We got horse energy, very much aligned with 5 energy. This is about greater freedom of self-expression, about tapping into something that is uninhibited, that is, again, just true and authentic and not restricted. So you might have to break some rules this year. You might have to get outside your comfort zone. But that's the thing. When we step outside our comfort zone and we achieve something outside of our comfort zone, then our comfort zone gets bigger, right? That radius gets bigger. And then we step outside our comfort zone again. We think outside the box again. We do something more progressive. We get a new perspective. And then again, it grows and grows and grows and grows. And eventually that comfort zone is massive and it's very freeing. And so the gate is going to be open this year. It's your decision to run through it and run freely through it. And be open-minded, be progressive, be unconventional, do the thing that you've always wanted to do, but that you've had fear around doing. Do the thing that might go against some of the traditional ways that you might have done things before, or that, have kept you kind of restricted before. You're not going to throw out all the rules, but you might have to throw out some of the rules or break some of those rules in order to see there is a better way to do it, or there's a more freeing way to do it, or the way that you've been doing it has been overly restrictive and hasn't allowed you to truly express yourself in the most unique, authentic way. So this year can be very, very freeing. But again, if you stay inside your box or your comfort zone, it's not going to be as freeing as it could be. The 5 energy wants you to experience life with all your senses, let your hair down, be uninhibited, be progressive, think outside the box, fly by the seat of your pants. So you're going to have to kind of fight that urge to be overly systematic, overly too rigid, or too restricted, and live a little. And I'm saying this myself. I have a lot of 5s in my chart, so this is a constant struggle I move through daily, but it's something, this year that's really going to continue to push us and push us and push us. And again, it's all to help us to work smarter, not harder. And by work, I just mean to live smarter, not harder. And yeah, can be a very freeing year and a very supportive and benefic year. So enjoy it. I'm going to try to. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye for now. Life Path 33.6. You all are going to be working with the vibration of the 43.7 throughout 2026. So this is an interesting energy because you have obviously the vibration of the 7. I'm going to talk about that. But then you have the higher octave of the 7, which is the 43. So this brings in quite the supportive energy that can be very supportive, very benefic, an opportunity to celebrate something. But it's interesting. Let's talk about the 7 first. So when we work through a 7 cycle, especially a long cycle, like a year long, this is one of those years where I would say let the magic happen for you. This is not about forcing or pushing too hard or trying to make things happen. The more you force, the more you try to control any situation, you're likely going to be disappointed with the results. Because again, you're trying to force an outcome that your ego has decided is best for you. And you're sort of overriding the knowing that your soul has about what is actually best for you. So when we move through these 7 cycles, it gives us so many different opportunities for greater self-discovery. It's about going deep. It's about going so well beneath the surface that we're working in the depths. So for some, this can be an incredibly healing year where you have an opportunity to work with some of those shadow sides of yourself and embrace them because they're a part of who you are. Now, there might be things that are, in the trenches that you have to kind of heal and work through and transmute. Maybe it's from past traumas or faulty belief systems or whatnot, but it's helping you to get to the truth of who you are. And not only that, but to be able to express that truth in a way that feels holistically true and authentic for you. So if it's working with your shadow side, so often we suppress those shadow sides of ourselves, but they're a part of who we are. And we're meant to embrace them and incorporate them and to do good with them. So you might find, those pieces of yourself that you have been shunning could come to the surface now to really meet you and to have that sort of conversation. So I say, be curious, go with it, don't fight it. This is a year where asking the bigger questions of yourself, of the universe, it's going to give you those bigger answers, whether you feel ready for them or not, and whether you're ready to confront them or not. But you have to kind of do the work. You have to be willing to seek out those bigger answers about yourself, about your journey. So this can be a truly, truly, truly magical year for you all. Very healing, very much a year of discovery about yourself, about others, about your place in the world. This is a year where you could see trust issues come to the surface, where it is that you have a hard time trusting yourself and your decisions, or trusting others, or trusting the universe, trusting that what the universe has taken away is part of the plan, is part of the journey, is part of the experience, is meant to teach you something, or what the universe brings in is for your highest good. So there can be a lot about, again, releasing control and allowing. So a lot about like surrender and being curious and wanting to go deeper and to get to the truth of not only who you are, but the truth of a situation. A lot of truths could come out this year. A lot of things that felt like there was maybe secrecy behind them, or they were veiled, or they just were out of reach. A lot of secrets could come to light, a lot of truth coming out this year. And that can bring greater justice to the situation. That can bring a greater understanding of the situation, or the relationship, or yourself, or whatever it may be. But again, you have to be willing to do the work. And as a 33-6, this is so important because so much of your journey is about, if you're stepping into the 33-6, if you choose to do that in this lifetime, so much of it is about, it's not only embracing unconditional love, but truly embodying it. And in order to do that, you've got to go to the depths. Sometimes you have to go through, multiple dark nights of the soul, some kind of spiritual awakening, or many, in order to get to that place where it's not just the lip service, right? Talking about love, saying how much you are, in that vibration, but truly, truly embodying it. And it's not something that you have to prove to anyone. You don't even have to prove it to yourself, because it just becomes a state of being and a presence. And so the 7 cycles that you move through, or that we move through, can always help us get closer to that, because it really kind of just weeds out anything that's not serving, anything that's like a faulty belief system or a heavy or negative belief system that keeps us from tapping into our true nature, which is that of divine love, which is that of unconditional love. And so 7 cycles can help us get closer and closer and closer to that. And for 33 sixes, it's such a critical part of your journey, especially when you move through 7 cycles. So just kind of keep that in mind. Anything that comes up in a 7 cycle is meant to, bring about greater growth, bring about greater evolution and understanding, and getting you closer to the truth of you, the truth of life, the truth of, source, whatever it may be. So you could see, again, because the 7 is very spiritual, it's the most psychic energy in numerology, very much that connected to the bridge between the seen and the unseen, basically. And so as you move through a 7 cycle, especially as a 33 sixes tend to be very tuned in, right? Very sensitive to energy and all those things, and very spiritual for the most part. So as you move through a 7 cycle, you might absolutely notice, tapping into greater gifts that you have, greater awareness, greater inspiration, a greater sense of knowing that goes beyond the ego, well beyond the ego. Tapping in more greatly to your intuition, trusting your intuition, all of these things. So it can be quite a profound and transformative year for you all. And you might think, well, no, I'm already, tapped into my intuition. I'm already, embraced my shadow side, etc. And that's great, but the soul is always about evolution and growth. So if you've, we never sort of plateau. And so even when we feel like we're stagnant or we've plateaued, we never do. And so, this is an opportunity, no matter how many octaves you think you've gone up, right, and throughout your journey, this year is an opportunity to go up a few more. So, and tap into something even deeper. I mean, there's no end to the depth of the soul, right? And as we're having this human experience, especially you as 33 sixes, are meant to be so sort of intertwined with your soul, where your soul is in the driver's seat and the ego is in the passenger seat. And so every time you move through a 7 cycle, it helps you get closer and closer to that and more deeply intertwined, because that's going to influence your work in the world. That's going to influence your presence, and your presence is what beautifies the space. Your presence is what is meant to bring love into a space and uplift raise that vibration of the people that you meet. So there's so much here, but yeah, a 7 cycle, also 9 cycles can have the same effect, but 7 cycles, it's about going deeper. So it can be very sensitive. It can bring up a lot of emotions as you're moving through a 7 cycle. It can feel really weird. Like a lot of weird things can kind of happen that just seem very strange and very cosmically driven. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to, it'll make sense when it needs to make sense, but go with the flow. Again, allow things to come to you this year. Don't try to force things. When things are flowing, go with that flow. If you have to force it, then hit the pause button. It's not for you right now. It might be later, but it's not right now. And so don't try to force that. Now, having said all that, the 43, again, being this higher vibration of the 7 in a sense, it brings in abundance and opportunities for rejoicing and celebrating, and just an opportunity to really be present with the people in your life who bring you that support and joy and happiness, to tap into your gifts that can bring you joy and happiness. This is a period of, again, celebration of your past endeavors that have brought the rewards now. That's, something that you can focus on. This is an opportunity to realize your goals and see the success of those goals. Again, remember, it's a year-long cycle, so you may not see all this come to, obviously, culmination until later this year or later in 2026. But there's this opportunity for things to really start to go in the direction that you've wanted them to go. You could see, financial increases, promotions, business expansion, relationships being taken to the next level, going deeper with your connections. If your health has been an issue, you could see healing take place, necessary healing, holistic healing. Pay attention to your body and what your body's asking from you. If you need solitude, go into solitude. If you need self-soothing, go into self-soothing. Self-care, do what your body needs this year. Make it a priority, and you will reap the rewards of that. If you've been moving through any kind of like family issues, that could be smoothed out at this time. If you've been going through any legal issues, that could be smoothed out and kind of the judgment going in your favor this year. Anything that you've been feeling very overwhelmed by, you could find peace and harmony and balance within that. So it can be, just incredibly fulfilling and rewarding, and you can find greater contentment throughout the year. Will there be the challenges? Yes, because this is life. We are always working with the polarities, but this year it could just feel like it goes a lot smoother in overcoming those challenges, and it can feel very rewarding throughout the process. This is also a time where I would say, take the time for rest. Take the time to loosen up and not take things so serious, to not try to, again, control things too much. Just go with the flow and try to enjoy the journey as much as possible this year. If you're pushing out anything new, launching anything new, pursuing anything new, this could be something that, where things start to go in your favor. But again, I would say be careful about pushing too hard. Seek out the things that are flowing and go with the flow. Sit back and relax and see where that tide takes you. But it will likely be in the direction that is best suited for you at this time. So really, really beautiful energy here. 33s. Love to see this for you all. Now, I pulled an animal wisdom message for you all, and you've got deer energy. And of course, with deer, it does bring in this sense of healing, this sense of gentleness, being gentle with yourself, having grace for yourself and grace for others. But also standing up for yourself, right? Deer are notoriously very gentle creatures, but I mean, they also have their boundaries, and, if you push them too far, they will, they'll fight back. So definitely, working on having higher standards, having healthy boundaries is important this year. And, if you need time, take time. If you need to say no, say no. If you need to, again, say no to not overburden yourself, then do so. So there can be a lot of that kind of comes in. This can be a very empowering year as well for you all. So, and overall very healing in a lot of ways, while also getting in touch with the core of who you are and what you want and how it is that you're going to go after that. So incredibly beautiful. You could see a lot open up for you this year, a lot of opportunities that will be presented to you. You don't have to go out seeking them or force it. They will be presented to you. Your job is to say yes if they feel good, they feel aligned, and you're not overburdening yourself, or you're not saying yes out of just perceived obligation. Beautiful year. Love to see it for you all. I hope it's a great one. Take care, 33s. Bye for now. Life Path 44-8. You are going to be working with a vibration of the 54-9 throughout 2026. And there is a very strong spiritual component to this cycle. So you could see the veil be very thin throughout the year. And what I mean by that is, greater connection to your higher self, greater downloads, inspirations. Your imagination might be running wild. You might have things come in for you that feel very divinely guided. Again, pay attention to your dreams for sure. Pay attention to, what someone says to you that really sparks something from within. There could be a lot of inspirational downloads. And so you might not know what you are meant to do with those downloads right away. And I wouldn't say that this is a year to initiate anything significant if you can kind of avoid it. Now, things that are already in motion, absolutely keep going in motion if it flows. But there's no forcing. There's no pushing too hard. There's no making it happen. But as those inspirations or those new ideas come in for you this year, write them down, because you will likely get a better understanding of what exactly you're meant to do with them or how significant they are as you move closer to the one cycle that you'll be stepping into in 2027. And that's where you're really going to see things pick up and start to kind of put that energy in motion. But this year, because that veil is very, very thin, and you could be getting so many downloads and hits from your higher self, from the universe, from source, whatever, you're meant to take those ideas and start to get your ducks in a row, like start to plan, start to strategize, start to figure out, like, again, what is it that you want? How are you going to achieve that? What's your greater goals? If you don't have greater goals right now, this is a year to figure out what those are. And then start to plan so that you can be ready to take significant action once you step into 2027. So there's a lot of like healing that could take place this year as well. And by healing, I just mean, finding greater confidence within yourself, overcoming any self-doubt, working to release anything that's holding you back or that's holding you down, anything that, creates an environment where you tend to self-sabotage or sabotage the relationship or the situation because you don't feel deserving or worthy or whatever. This is a year that will confront you with where it is you don't feel worthy, where it is you don't feel good enough or valuable or that your contribution matters, any of those things. And that's what I mean by like healing. A lot of times we have to move through an experience that wakes us up to our true potential, our capabilities, our gifts, and for you all, that wisdom. And so this year could really be profound in that. And it's really setting you up for, again, come 2027, when you step into that 1 year of putting it into action, being ready to, go and not let some of those deep-seated fears or faulty belief systems stand in your way. And that's what I mean by healing. It could be holistic healing as well, right? Like if you're kind of burnt out or run down, listen to your body, give it what it needs. If you feel disconnected spiritually, find ways to do more spiritual practices, go into nature, spend time there. Surround yourself with nature, whether it's nature sounds that you listen to, or you're actually physically going into nature. Get some house plants, whatever it may be, that can connect you deeper to your source. And our source is always nature. We come from nature, right? So yeah, there's a lot here with that. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if you overcome significant challenges that you've been facing this year in order to tap into that greater wisdom that will help you to continue on this path of your 44-8 life path. That's very, very possible. So if you've been moving through things that have felt incredibly difficult, it's very possible that the solutions will present this year. It's very possible that you will gain a greater understanding of what's needed in order to overcome those obstacles. You, of course, are the main character, so you're going to have to put in the effort to do the work to overcome those obstacles, but it can become very clear what's needed in order to make that happen this year. And again, this isn't a year for forcing or pushing or trying too hard. It's a year for being receptive to the information, the wisdom, the inspiration that comes in for you now. And then again, writing it down, making note of it, and then starting to formulate the plan. That's the action items this year. Now, again, I want to emphasize, because the numerology astrology does not dictate our lives. So if an opportunity comes in for you and it's something that you want to say yes to and initiate and get started on, go for it. But there's just no forcing this year. Like if you have to really force and you keep hitting your head against the wall, take the pressure off. Like, stand back. It's not for you right now. And you can force it all you want, but you're just making the situation more complicated and more convoluted and more difficult than it needs to be. The 9 energy says, stand back. You've done the work. You've created the web. Now let me bring it to you. That's the universe, right? Let me bring you now what you need for the next chapter. So put your energy there. Put your energy on what is working, what is flowing, because that's where your energy is needed. If it's not working, if it's giving you a headache, if it's frustrating, don't invest your energy there because it's not ready for you yet. The solution will present itself when it's time. But right now, if it's not there, don't force it, because you can't force it. So you're just wasting your energy. The other thing I would say about this cycle, because ultimately, of course, it is a 9 cycle, there could be things closing out now. Maybe you've been working towards some kind of project or something. You could see that come to completion this year. Getting things off your plate. So things that are no longer for you, that have expired, that have served their purpose, it's time to release those. 9 cycles should remind us of everything is transient. So those things that are no longer meant to be in your life will likely fall away at this time. Don't cling to them. Don't overly attach to it. Don't try to force them to stay. If they fall away, they fall away. If it feels like they've served their purpose in your life and they are now impeding your evolution forward, then release. And that can be done with love and peace and harmony and all the beauty. It doesn't have to be done with vengeance and all of that, or bitterness or pettiness or any of that. So, this is a cycle where the old is kind of falling away and making space for the new. And that new will likely come in this year, those inspirations, ideas, opportunities, whatever. And then next year in 2027, you will be ready to, go, right? You'll get the green light. You'll be able to go and take action in a significant way. This cycle with the 54 energy also brings in being able to see beyond the illusion, being able to seek the truth and find the truth of a situation. So there's some areas of your life where you're unaware of some of the elements that are at play. And those elements will be revealed to you likely this year. So I would say, it's going to be up to you what you choose to do with that awareness, that truth, once it's presented to you. And I would say it will also likely show you where something might need to be released, or many things, in order to create a space that's harmonious and that embraces that truth. So again, this year is about looking for the truth beyond the superficial appearances, beyond the stories that you may have created in your head, beyond what might be being presented to you, beyond your current understanding of a situation. And part of the journey this year is about preparing yourself for when that truth arrives, so that you're ready to take action, so that you're ready to take that truth and do something with it. And that can be difficult at times. It can be trying, but you will feel empowered by that truth, whatever it is, of the situation. So it can bring in a tremendous amount of clarity this year, but it's going to feel very much aligned because it is the truth of the situation. So then you can decide what to do with it. You could receive very important messages or news this year that will require your energy. And, again, make sure that you're participating in a way that feels good, that you're investing your energy in the things that make sense for you, that feel right, that feel in truth. Don't be investing your energy in the things that are not working, because you're just going to get the same results and you're going to be continuously frustrated. The solutions for that frustration will likely present, or that situation, but maybe not now. So don't try to force something you can't force. This year will likely be a year that brings in many opportunities for you to manage your emotions and kind of keep your emotions under control. Yes, work with them. Yes, feel them. Yes, acknowledge them. Yes, channel them into something powerful and constructive, but not destructive. And so you will likely have plenty of opportunities where you can choose between being reactive or responsive. And you might have to hit the pause button, pull away a little bit, and get yourself back to neutrality before you make some kind of rash decision that you might regret later. So pay attention to your emotions, especially those charged emotions. Anytime we make a decision from a charged emotion, we likely will feel regret from that to some degree. So get yourself back to neutrality the best that you can before you make significant decisions that have to do with your relationships, your career, your life. You always want to kind of make those from a place of neutrality, because that's where you're very present and you're making a decision that's most informed and not being driven by the charged emotions of the moment. So you could see that come through quite a bit this year. The other thing is, there might be people in higher positions or in positions of power or influence, or who are in a position who can help you to achieve your goals. Could be watching, could be observing to see how you handle yourself, how you do what you do. So put yourself out into the world, share your messaging, share your wisdom, share your ideas, and illustrate how you handle yourself in situations. Because again, someone might be watching, and that person might be someone who can really elevate your project, you in the world, whatever it is. So yeah, just be very mindful of your responsiveness as opposed to your reactivity and the effort that you're putting in. That's going to be important, especially things that are already in motion. Your actions can earn you some kind of greater position of authority, respect, accolades, recognition, is very, very possible at this time. So, stand behind whatever you're putting out into the world. Make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. You're showing the world what you're capable of. You're reminding yourself of what you're capable of at this time. Don't hide yourself away. The other thing I would say is pay attention to your health, your holistic health. Again, listen to your body. What is it that it's asking for? Eat well, sleep well, allow that time for rest and rejuvenation and self-care and self-soothing. Allow that time to connect with, a higher sense of yourself through nature, through things that you enjoy doing. Connect to your joy as much as possible this year. You might have to create that joy, but create it, because it's going to be that channel that connects you to your higher self and that brings you the most intuitive hits. Overall, be good to yourself. Listen to what your body needs and give it to it. I pulled an animal wisdom message for you all, and you got owl energy. And I mean, that's so aligned with this 9 energy because, owls, of course, they hunt at night. They're known to come out at night. And so they can see through the darkness. They can see through the illusion. They can see through the fogginess, and they can see very clearly. So there's so much this year for you all around going deeper, seeing beyond the illusion, seeing beyond the initial presentation. So be really careful about the stories you create in your head about situations. Get to the truth of it, remember? So have the conversations, ask the questions, get to the truth of the situation before you make some kind of a decision. Because that's going to bring the most information to allow you to make the most informed decision that you likely won't regret in the future. With anything that comes your way this year, go deeper, because that is what is going to allow you to not only prepare for 2027 when you step into a 1 cycle, but it's going to prepare you and bring in the most that you can possibly get out of this cycle this year. Beautiful energy, 44s. I hope it's a great 2026 for you all. Take care. Bye for now.